Good evening, and welcome to Pynchon Pals, a podcast about finally reading Thomas Pynchon. My name is Patrick Furielli, and I'm joined, as always, by Andrew Tillett.
How's it going?
And Dury Long.
Woohoo!
Just thought I'd add like a little different energy. I realize I always do the intro with the exact same intonation, but not this time. Up at the top, we'd like to thank our supporters at patreon.com/PynchonPals, where you can sign up for $5 a month to hear exclusive bonus episodes like our most recent watch episode of Tamala 2010, A Punk Cat in Space. That was exciting. Have you ever heard of that movie? If not, you should go track it down. And also sign up at patreon.com/PynchonPals to hear us talk about it. We thoroughly enjoyed it. We will be announcing our... was it May bonus episode very soon? If not later on in this episode, we'll see how tired we get by the end of it. On tonight's episode, we're discussing, let's see, through the end of book 1 in Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, a book we are all reading for the very first time. Normally I say what episodes we're reading, but we helpfully got a comment from Joe on Spotify, who illuminated us on the particularities of Bovril as a British person. Joe has told us that Bovril is like a beef stock cube you dissolve into hot water and drink. We described it as kind of like Marmite, and that doesn't sound exactly like Marmite, but, you know, I'll wait and see what it tastes like, Joe, and then I'll let you know if I think it's anything like Marmite. Joe also says it's often sold at football, a.k.a. soccer matches. Secondly, Joe writes, this might solve your episode gripe. Apparently, Pynchon himself referred to the episodes as sequences, which I personally feel fits. So, we're discussing sequences 117 through 121, I believe.
Problem solved.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Before we dive into things, I had 2 revelations between our last recording and this recording related to Thomas Pynchon that I wanted to share with both of you.
The book has all been made clear in the intervening time.
Well, one passage has been made clear. 2 passages have been made. One passage has been made clear, and one I just have a comment about.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
So the first one, this revelation came from a friend, Nathan, a real-world Pynchon pal.
Friend of the show, Nathan.
Friend of the show, who is...
I've always wanted to say friend of the show, and now we have friend of the show.
Friend of the show, who is reading along, albeit a few episodes behind, and was listening to our Crying of Lot 49 episode, where we talk about the song that is sung by the Yoyodyne employees, that we said was based off of Cornell's alma mater. And I am so sorry to inform a group of not 1, not 2.
Wait. Before you say this, can we just remind the listeners what the lyrics, and maybe in particular, Andrew, what the lyrics of the hymn to Yoyodyne are? I want to see if we give just a little hint.
Do you have them pulled up?
I do.
Okay, great.
Okay. Andrew, I'm going to read you the hymn to Yoyodyne that is sung to the tune of Cornell's alma mater. Okay, I don't know if you know what the Cornell's alma mater is, but here are the lyrics. High above the LA freeways and the traffic's whine stands the well-known Galactronics branch of Yoyodyne. To the end we swear undying loyalty to you. Pink pavilions bravely shining, palm trees tall and true.
Okay. Does that do anything for you, Andrew?
Does that do anything for you? Does it remind you of anything?
Now I feel like it should. The other song in that chapter is what sticks out to me more than this one. This one, compared to the other song, really stuck with me at the time, and it still doesn't ring much of a bell.
Let me just one more time. High.
Well, maybe I can join you. Hold. Where's the?
I'll post it in.
Will you
I'll
please
post it in Discord.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
It is not paginated or line broken correctly, but here it is.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Tell us if this rings a bell. High
above
above the LA freeways and the traffic's whine stands the well-known Galactronics branch of Yo-Yo Dine.
Okay.
To the end, we swear undying loyalty to you. That's going to sound great on recording.
Yep.
Pink pavilions bravely shining, palm trees tall and true.
Okay, we lost
Wow.
some synchronization there.
I'll sync it up in post.
Sync it up in post. But
not,
for the unaware listener, that song is also to the tune of Hark the Sound, UNC's alma mater. And we have not one, not two, but 3 Tar Heels that did not recognize that. And I am ashamed of us.
That's wow. I mean, I've always said UNC is the Cornell of the South.
That's true. You've always said it. So I did look this up because I was like, no way UNC, just like the University of North Carolina. I don't know if we've said UNC yet, but for our international audience.
Not Northern Colorado.
Yeah. University of North Carolina.
Chapel Hill,
the Tar Heels. I was like, no way they just totally copped just an existing alma mater from Cornell. And I am pleased to report that the original tune that Cornell also ripped off is from an 1857 ballad by Boston songwriter H.S. Thompson, not Hunter S. Thompson, but Henry S. Thompson, that was published in Massachusetts, called Annie Lyle. So that is the origin of the tune, but it is used in about a zillion university and college alma maters in the United States, and including a few not in the United States. There's 3 Malaysian schools that use the tune. It's been used in movies and whatnot. It was the tune was featured in Hey Arnold, the Nickelodeon animated show, as the school song for PS 118. So
wow.
It's all over the place, but we shout out to friend of the show, Nathan. We did not recognize it, and
Nathan.
We are ashamed.
Nathan, the true Tar Heel.
The true Tar Heel.
I had one other revelation.
Go to hell, Duke.
Go to hell, Duke.
Go to hell, Duke. I had one other revelation, which was unrelated, and skipping to the book that we're actually reading right now, Gravity's Rainbow. We spent a long time talking the other day about the Kenosha Kid. And Patrick, I feel like you really connected with that passage and tried to sort of get all of us on board with the idea of like having a dream where you keep trying to retool something over and over and make sense of it by looking at it.
I sent y'all a Reddit post about fever dreams, about like things repeating or being unable to break a loop. And I was like, look, it's like this. These are the kinds of fever dreams I have.
Yeah, and I felt like neither of us were really exactly able to relate to that. And it wasn't clicking into place for me. I didn't really understand the purpose of the Kenosha Kid. And recently, Patrick and I were in Barcelona, and we went to the Picasso Museum in Barcelona, which, if you haven't been before, is not your ordinary Picasso museum. It has like all of Picasso's sort of like childhood and early year work. So you see sort of his development as an artist, and then it sort of skips over the main part of his art because that's all in other museums around the world.
It skips over a lot of the really expensive stuff.
Yeah. And those are, in other museums. And then it concludes with this sort of fever dream that Picasso had at the end of his life, in which he painted a series of 58 paintings that were all based on the painting Las Meninas by Velázquez. And he just painted Las Meninas over and over in his cubist style, but each time sort of focusing on a slightly different version or perspective or character, like rearranging the scene. And
yeah,
as we were
for the listener, if you don't have a like photographic memory of Velázquez's Las Meninas, you may have, if you've taken like an art history class or something, you may have seen it's like the sort of noble blonde girl in the center, flanked by these ladies in waiting, and then there's a painter off to the side, and then there's a guy standing in a doorway at the very back, and there's like a mirror at the back of the room that seems to reflect you, the viewer, also like figured as the girl's like noble parents. There's like a lot going on, an image that is oftentimes like praised for its depth and how many things are going on, foreground, background.
Yeah, and Picasso sort of explores all of that. He zooms in on like particular characters in the image. He enlarges things. He looks at it from different perspectives. He sort of, in the Cubist style, like flattens a bunch of perspectives into one. Anyways, there's 58 versions of this exact same painting. And at some point, standing in the gallery, looking at these 58 versions of the painting, I was like, this is the Kenosha Kid. Where you just get like stuck on something and you have to like explore it from all of these different angles and different perspectives. I was like, this is what Slothrop was going on in Slothrop's head.
Do we think this is what Slab was doing with all of his cheese danishes? To throw it back.
Whoa.
Even one more book?
Shit.
Yes.
This is Cheese Danish number 58, 59, 60, 61, and 62.
Pynchon likes a little obsession.
Wow, who could have thought?
Who could have thought that one?
Well, thank you, Dury. Thank you for illuminating not one, not two, but 3 books in the course of a couple revelations.
You know, go to an art museum. Things will become clear.
Indeed they will. Andrew, did you have any like large revelations about Thomas Pynchon in the last couple of weeks?
Can't say I did. I really enjoyed our 2 weeks off from recording.
Well, get ready to have some revelations tonight as we enter sequence 117. Focalized through a half-dreaming pointsman, we learn that Spectro has been killed in a V2 blast centered on Darlene's apartment. You remember the one with all the candy? After the demises of Spectro, Lamplighter, noted gambler, Drummond, Easterling, and Pum, Pointsman and his Welsh buddy Thomas Gwenhydwy are now the last 2 remaining caretakers of the book, which he suspects may be cursed. He thinks about women and the Nobel Prize he knows could be his by way of Slothrop, who's been sent to the Riviera.
I like that he thinks he's going to win the Nobel Prize by torturing and killing a man.
Well, they've been one for less or more. You know?
I don't think we can overstate how much of an error it seems after the fact to bring the guy who you know draws V2 rockets everywhere he goes to where you work.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess I guess this points us to the fact we were wondering if Slothrop ever actually went to the White Visitation or has just been hanging around St. Veronica's for most of the Kenosha Kid business. And I guess, yeah, the answer is he's been hanging around St. Veronica's.
At least he's been having sex around St. Veronica's.
Yeah. But Darlene worked at St. Veronica's, remember?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he meets her like in and around there. So,
I'm going to be honest, I struggled a little bit with sequence 17. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, so we start off with one of, I feel like you're always bringing this up, Dury, one of these classic switches to the second person. Once again, the second person is Pointsman, and now saying it out loud, I'm wondering if there's a relationship between point of view and Pointsman and the second person that keeps coming up.
It is more often than not Pointsman. It's not always Pointsman.
Yeah.
But frequently it's Pointsman.
We get again this round white light that is part of Pointsman's dream. Quote, no one knew what the round light signified. And this, I keep referring to like the first edition cover of Gravity's Rainbow that has this like round white light on it, sort of bursting above the skyline. And I'm also once again impressed by our I'm pleased, I should say, with our selection of cover image for this podcast with like the weird little sun who just keeps dashing around the sky. I feel like that the imagery of a big face in the sky comes up a lot in the pages we're reading today.
We find out that Spectro was killed.
Alas, poor Spectro.
Poor Spectro.
R.I.P.
Why do they call him Spectro sub E?
Yeah.
That was a question I had for Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew.
Me?
Andrew, tell us. Yeah.
I don't know what
does that mean?
means.
What does that mean in math?
Is that a
Or
math
physics?
thing?
You can do that. I mean, yeah, people do that in math. Like if there's, if you've got multiple, say if you're doing like a thing, an equation with multiple mass values, you might, you'd have like mass 1 and mass 2 kind of thing, and you would denote that with a subscript, but I'm not sure what subscript E would mean in this case. Like it's usually a letter to signify I don't know which spectro you're referring to. I'm not sure what this means though. I was hoping our good friend who wrote a book about this book would know, whose name I've forgotten.
A companion?
Yeah, a companion book.
Okay, yes. In fact, I have a couple things to point out from Weisenberger's companion in tonight's episode. I didn't mark this one, but it is here. Subscript E, Weisenberger writes, because the late Kevin Spectro calls the word foxes to pointsman through Carol Eventer, whom we recall as the medium at the séance in episode 5. So it is Spectro through Eventer.
Oh, okay. That's clear as mud, Pynchon.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that does mean he's using the subscript E to denote exactly who, but...
Yeah, because presumably if you had Spectro coming through a different medium, be a different subscript.
Keep an eye out on that?
I guess...
Keep an eye. There might be more later in the book.
Yeah, there you go. I do feel like there's bound to be some really funny note-taking going on at the White Visitation of a bunch of researchers trying to invent like nomenclature and abbreviations for some of the bonkers stuff they get up to.
Yeah, that's probably how they denote the medium.
Someone had a meeting at one point where they were like, we should also denote the medium through whom the spirit is talking in some way.
Mm-hmm. They're deciding on acronyms, nomenclature. Pynchon loves a sort of corporatized or governmentized acronym.
Yeah.
ARF.
Yeah, Milton Gloaming is still counting words. We remember him.
Do we remember him?
Of course we remember him.
Yeah,
So
who
many
doesn't
characters.
remember
He's at
Milton?
Snocksalls.
He's one of
Who
them.
doesn't remember the iconic Milton Gloaming counting words at Snocksalls? Jessica throws a dart near him and he gets kind of annoyed.
Right. I have to keep like a glossary. I was spinning in these first 2 episodes with all of the characters, and I couldn't remember which of them we'd met before and which were new characters.
I felt really good through this section, being like, yeah, this is really starting to click. I'm really feeling this. And then the next section, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are.
What's happening?
Have I met these people?
Some of them.
Recommendation to the listener: don't read Thomas Pynchon when you're sleepy. That's all I have to say. I felt like I was dying as I was trying to piece together what was going on in this section and the next one.
Yeah, what are those ads that are? They definitely have them around Chicago and Illinois more broadly. That are like, if you feel different, you drive different. Don't smoke and drive. I feel like you could make something similar about Thomas Pynchon. If you feel different, you read Thomas Pynchon different.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be
careful.
like better or worse under some sort of influence.
When we get done with all these books, we can go back and read them all really drunk, and then go back again and read them all really high.
We came up with the V drinking game back in the day. So Roger Mexico is thinking that it's another event to be stuck on his map. And Pointsman realizes that, like, eventually even that map is going to get demolished. Again, we're sort of having anxiety about the end of the war, and Pointsman feels bad about the state of his career and all of this. Meanwhile, he is a little bit worried about the quote-unquote mummy's curse of the book that seems to be happening, where each of the original 7 owners has died in a more dramatic, warlike fashion, from being struck by a car to a bomb to a gun, a V1 and then a V2, which can't mean anything good for the next person to die, and definitely not for the person after that.
Yeah, I'm concerned that Gwyn Hidwi is not long for this world.
Well, Pointsman is, I think, also very concerned for Gwyn Hidwi, and not at all concerned for himself. He's very confident that he will be the last owner of the book.
Everybody who has a cursed book is confident that they will be the last owner of the cursed book. That's how the curses keep going.
We get a lot of names of Pointsman's dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering why they're all Russian.
For Pavlov.
We have Pyotr,
Because
Natasha.
Pavlov's Russian.
Yeah.
Oh, and so all the dogs have to be Russian.
I don't know if these are maybe what Pavlov named the dogs in his studies, or just an affectation.
It's definitely like an homage to Pavlov, I would think.
I see.
I doubt they're Russian dogs.
But you remember the first time we encounter Pointsman is that sentence that's like, tonight's quarry will be Vladimir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He loves a callback, Thomas Pynchon.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
The Lord of the Night shows back up with his ab reactions, and we get to the point of this book frequently seeming like a film or a newsreel or something. Quote, the entire film runs backward, fared skin back to sheet, back to pigs, to white incandescence, to ore, to earth. But the reality is not reversible. Didn't Pointsman in Mexico talk about that at one point? Like, cause and effect only moves in one direction, according to Pointsman, but Roger isn't so sure. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, that's
That does sound kind of familiar.
when they're on the beach and they see the guy figure skating.
What is the ab reaction of the Lord of the Night again?
Well, we know what ab reaction is. That's the return to a traumatic, repressed memory that creates, and in Pointsman's case, and I guess all throughout the White Visitation, kind of like this psychic explosion. Like they're interested in these ab-reactive forces, and that's what, for Pointsman, turns people into these kind of blank slates that can then be imprinted and conditioned or reconditioned. And the Lord of the Night keeps showing up in Pointsman chapters. As
Is
like
it at all related? Because I feel like we're getting a lot of angel and angel of death, possibly, imagery later on in this series of sequences. Is that related to the Lord of the Night, do you think? Or are they separate entities?
I'm waiting to see if death and the angel are the same person, or...
Yeah, they're feeling related. We've had death, capital D, angel, capital A, Lord of the Night, capital L-N.
We've also had the Lord of the Sea.
There's a Lord of the Sea?
Yeah, remember that the guy who escaped from the asylum back when it was an asylum?
Oof, yeah.
It's still an asylum. We've got D-Wing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, D-Wing is still up and running.
One more thought on the reversibility and the ab reaction situation. Wasn't Pointsman irritated with the dog that he owned because they couldn't undo what they did?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
I feel like that connects to this idea of reality not being reversible, and that frustrating Pointsman.
Isn't that also Slothorpe's problem that Yamf didn't successfully uncondition him?
Mm-hmm.
Or that's, I guess, the theory of the White Visitation crew.
Yeah, it's like not being able to clean up your mess. Parts of this reminded me. It's a fairly popular science book by a physicist. I've taught parts of it in classes before. The Order of Time by Carlo Rovelli. He's a quantum theoretical physicist who has this like radical idea that time is a variable you can take out of basically all the fundamental physical equations. Like you can just remove T completely, because the real thing you're talking about is entropy, and entropy increases, but he has some explanation about how like even entropy is kind of relativistic depending on what order you're going from to. And so depending on how you're talking about it, entropy can be reversible or something along those lines. And like, then you get at a quantum scale, you get a reversal of cause and effect depending on your relativistic perspective on entropy. And a lot of this reminded me of that book. I'm probably butchering Dr. Ravelli's explanation, and Andrew is smirking at me, but if you're interested in these kinds of ideas, it's a good book to check out. If you're interested in whether or not the course of the universe is reversible or not, Carlo Rovelli is also interested in that question.
You know, perhaps we're not all blank slates after all.
Mm-hmm.
The body keeps score, to reference.
Is that Carlo Rovelli?
No, I was just thinking of another pop science book that I was reminded of by this sequence.
You know what body isn't scoring yet?
Pointsman.
Ned Pointsman.
His
Women avoid him, he quote unquote. He knows in a general way what it is. He's creepy.
I'm glad he's aware.
Yeah, well,
I
and
read
we
that. I was
didn't-
really happy. I was like, I'm glad he knows that he is. It's important.
Pynchon takes us on a journey through this paragraph where we almost start to feel bad for this man, and we're starting to suddenly we're seeing interiority of Pointsman. You know, he's been really creepy thus far in this book, but you know, maybe we're feeling a little sympathy for him.
He has a smile that is the scariest thing a grown man has ever seen.
And then he ends this paragraph where we're maybe beginning to have some pity for him. And Pointsman thinks, oh, but how he'd like someday to give them something really to scream about. Which is just the most sinister line.
Sometimes you're a borderline evil scientist.
I think
And
Pointsman's a straight up evil scientist.
he's dancing through the gray zone.
Yeah, we don't know where he'll land.
He's got some concerning thoughts. I'll say that.
You know, someday he'd like to.
He's torturing dogs.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he's
true.
pretty bad guy.
Well, he's torturing dogs in a more or less medically sanctioned way for the time, I suppose.
And to save
When did
his
it become
country.
illegal? When did PETA come into existence? I don't think he's saving his country. I think we've lost all pretense of that.
He believes that he might. Although later he does seem to not believe that. Later in our reading tonight.
Is there a possible reading of this that maybe he imagines the women sort of screaming in pleasure and ecstasy?
That crossed my mind on a reread, but it felt more sinister than that.
No, yeah, it definitely feels sinister. I'm not gonna.
Especially because they were the sentence preceding was about them running away, uttering screams only they and he can hear.
Because of his face.
Yeah.
And how creepy it is, yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't feel like a pleasurable scream necessarily.
Yeah. This is also where he and Pynchon both go long on Pointsman masturbating, not just to the idea of all of the beautiful women in Sweden, but also for the fame and the hotel room and the prizes that he is sure to win one of these days, just as soon as he can publish that paper on Slothrop about how he won World War II with Slothrop.
I have a quick question that we skipped over. First of all, we have a math equation that shows up in the text, of course, next to Roger Mexico. And then second, we have an interesting sort of typographical situation that happens where it says that far across the downs cries a train whistle, grainy as late fog, a cock crow, dash, dot, dash, dot, longer dash. And I was wondering if you all had any thoughts on this.
Morse code, presumably?
Oh, is it Morse code?
I assumed it was Morse code. Or that he's hearing a chicken, but the chicken sounds to him like Morse code.
Morse code. Oh, well, that really clarified things for me. Thank you, Patrick.
I don't know if
I don't know much about Morse code, so
I don't know if it maps to anything in particular.
Would it be dash dot dash dot dash dash? The last dash is long.
that last dash is long.
Yeah, I think dash dot dash dot dash dash.
Yeah, dash dot looks like C.
Is it just Morse code for what cock-a-doodle-doo sounds like?
No, I think it's a lot shorter than that. I think it might just be CM.
No. I mean, if you transformed cock-a-doodle-doo into dash dot dash dot dash dash.
Like we were just doing like an onomatopoetic translation on a...
Yeah, like an onomatopoeia. If you tried to make a Morse a telegraph sound like a chicken.
Do, 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 do. Yeah, I think that's possibly most likely.
That's my guess. I'm sticking to it.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. That was a question I had.
We're answering questions. We're being efficient tonight. We were at the Nobel Prize business.
Yeah, we start talking about the cortex,
which comes up several times in this section.
Yeah, I feel a theme throughout these sequences was the idea of the interface, which the cortex is described as an interface organ mediating between the two, the outside and the inside.
Wikipedia says, in anatomy and zoology, the cortex, plural cortices, let's all remember that, is the outermost, otherwise known as superficial layer of an organ. So,
is it like our skin?
Yeah, or the outer layer of the skin.
Outer layer.
As we get to later on.
Oh, yeah, we talk about the epidermis. Oof, that was, yeah.
So, yeah, the interface between inside and outside, which is also a theme we talked about a lot in Lot 49, coming up back here. Andrew, were you going to say something about the Nobel Prize a minute ago?
I was going to, but I answered my own question.
Great.
It's not great podcasting. I was confused what Nobel Prize he was trying to win, and then I realized that there's a physiology and a medicine that I guess he'd probably both be potentially in the category of. Although maybe the Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe he's going for the Peace Prize by ending the war.
It wouldn't be the first time that a megalomaniac has really gone hard for the Nobel Peace Prize. It wouldn't be the last.
And what do you want to bet? I think Pointsman might lose out to.
We'll get Pointsman the FIFA Peace Prize if this one doesn't work
out. There's more of this, the idea of the Minotaur back in the labyrinth. Pointsman is. And
Pointsman's favorite myth.
He is also imagining this Minotaur figure as this very special Nazi dog.
It's the most special Nazi dog.
The most special Nazi dog.
Just imagine what he could learn from this Nazi dog.
Do you think that the puzzle on Slothrop's desk is like a prize-winning dog puzzle, and that's why he has the left eye of a Vi Marner on his desk? He just has like a German dog puzzle.
Like a commemorative puzzle for this. Maybe. Do they? Yeah.
Who's to say?
I don't know. Is that something that people did?
Pynchon.
I don't know. We weren't alive in the 40s. This seems like the kind of thing that, like, yeah, commemorative puzzle. Why not? Actually, I do know this. We're just going on all sorts of tangents tonight. But I do know that in the puzzle community, there is some there are some kind of puzzle purists who really like the hand cut puzzles, and they have a real distaste for puzzles that are all basically the same puzzle template, sort of like stamped onto different images, where it's all the same puzzle pieces, they just have different images underneath the cuttings. So like all of the pieces you could line up one to one, like the factory assembly line puzzles, compared to ye olden puzzles, which would have been bespoke, distinct puzzle pieces.
I can see why someone would like that, yeah. But like,
if you're a puzzle piece purist, get in touch. We'd love to chat with you. Slothrop is here now with Slothrop in it, sudden angel thermodynamic surprise wherever he is. Will it change now? Might Pointsman get to have a go at the Minotaur after all? Another one of these surprises. A thermodynamic surprise, not a
meatball surprise.
Meatball surprise, or yeah.
Candy surprise. I forget what the candy is.
And then Slothrop's in the Riviera.
Well, he ought to be.
He should be. He's probably there.
send him away.
I guess we don't know what Riviera this is.
I guess it's the French.
I meant to look this up, but I don't know.
France occupied by Germany at this
That's
juncture?
what I'm wondering, because there's also an Italian Riviera, and I'm wondering if that's been liberated yet?
I think Italy should.
I don't know.
Italy should be mostly liberated, I think. But there's part of France that was like never occupied by the Nazis, I think. And I think it would have been the Riviera section.
There's also the Thames Riviera, an area of London.
That seems like that makes a lot
Tags
more
Island.
sense.
Well, but it says that he'd be warm.
Yeah, so he's probably not in London.
Who's ever been warm in London?
There's the Swiss Riviera on Lake Geneva.
How would he have gotten there?
Same way the Von Trapps did. I guess we'll find out. I'm sure we will find out on like the next page that we read exactly where Slothrop is.
Yeah, that's true. We'll get there eventually.
It is something I thought about.
Yeah, I do feel like looking at the map
of Rivieras.
Well, I was looking at the French Riviera. Does appear to be. Oh gosh, I'm kind of trying to visually compare these maps. Does appear to be in the Zone Libre, which was like the area that was never occupied that Andrew mentioned.
You've been able to go there? Because it would still been Vichy France, right? Vichy France? Vichy?
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't have been allowed to go there if it's not literally occupied. Very confusing.
Yeah, although it does look like the Italian Riviera is maybe not an option based on a map of Historical Atlas of Europe on the 24th of December, 1944.
What?
Okay, well, we'll learn
figure out what
soon
Riviera
enough.
he's on. Maybe he's in like the Irish Riviera, somewhere close by.
The Welsh Riviera.
What do you think happens when they send Slothrop away? Do the V2s don't stop?
Unless they're trying to figure that out.
They're moving this guy around a lot when we know that he attracts
That's the experiment.
Yeah. Do they think he like won't attract V2s if he's not in London? Because if so, they should have shipped him off a while ago.
Maybe he's in
Ship him back to Massachusetts.
Yeah, why haven't they just killed Slothrop? Why are they trying to get to the bottom of this? If they really think that he's causing these rockets, they should just kill him and then the rockets would stop.
Because he might be predicting them.
Oh, not necessarily causing them.
It's as if we're not sure whether he's the cause or the effect.
Layers.
It might be a really bad idea to kill Tyrone Slothrop.
He's our last clue. You're right.
They do have a guy there who believes himself to be the war, so why don't they just kill that guy?
Terrible for that guy, or great for that guy. I don't know. I guess depends.
It's as if all of these people kind of want the war to keep going and don't actually want to win the war.
Yep. That does seem like maybe a conflict of interest that all the people whose livelihoods sort of depend on the war are the people who are tasked with ending the war. God,
I'm sure glad that's not how the real world works.
Phew.
Ooh, could you imagine?
That'd be tough. Pointsman's tune does change a little bit once he gets that big cash influx from Pudding, though, in a couple of sequences. He's suddenly much more like positive, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a Poisson distribution, guy. I've got my funding secured. Let's end the war."
Anything further to say on sign and symptoms, inside, outside, pathology of the outside, etc., etc.
He's seeking the answer at the interface.
Yep.
Yep. He thinks we must never lose control of Slothrop.
Yeah, so, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's kind of the last we get of Tyrone for a little while here, so we'll see.
But not the last we get of the White Visitation.
No.
No.
It won't leave.
We ready for sequence 118?
Bring us in.
Roll call for the quote-unquote freaks at the quote-unquote White Visitation. Researchers Rollo Grost, Edwin Treacle, Freudian and dreamer, and Aaron Throster. Ronald Cherrycoke, who can read psychic traces by touching objects. Margaret Quartertone, who can throw her voice to distant electronic recordings. Reverend Dr. Paul de la Nuit, chaplain and automatic writer. Gavin Trefoil, quote-unquote autochromatist, or guy who can change his skin color, kind of like with Cryptosam and dramatized in a little skin cell scene. Carol Eventer, our old medium in touch with the control spirit of Peter Sasha, and his lover, that's Carol's lover, Nora Dodson-Truck, a quote-unquote erotic nihilist obsessed with the idea of the zero, who even Cherrycoke, with all his fondling of her effects, can't read. But Cherrycoke can read the memory of Airman Basher St. Blaise, who once saw a real live angel in the sky over Lubeck. Eventer, trying to get to the bottom of the story, reaches out across the veil to St. Blaise's wingman Terence Overbaby, and his interface with old Peter Sasha takes us back to the days of the Weimar Republic, where he had an affair with one Lenny Pulkler.
Patrick, I would like to give you a round of applause for that summary.
I basically circle every name that appears in this book in case I have to figure out who the fuck they are for a chapter summary later on.
I don't know that I could have done that.
So many people in this section.
I think partway through this chapter, I looked up and I was like, Patrick, who's Nora? Who's Nora?
I read this section twice.
I'm pretty sure we've not met Nora before.
What?
I'm pretty sure we've not met Nora before.
No, I don't think we'd met Nora before. I think she's new. Several of these people are new, but not all of them.
I read this section twice, partially because I read it the first time tired, and I realized too late that I was tired, and I was like, well, I'll finish it, and hopefully it'll be a good base layer for when I read it again in a couple days.
Was it?
I read it tired and nearly reduced myself to tears.
I do think it was helpful to read this one a second time. I don't know if it is still I think the least clear of any of the reading for this episode, but there was some stuff skin stuff. When I was sleepy, I was like, wow, I'm so confused who's talking. And then the second time I was like, oh, it really is the skin.
Dude, last night was a movie. I thought the skin cells were talking to me.
That's exactly what happened.
I just have different annotations in the margins that are different perspective, cut back. Who's this now?
I was really scared I was going to have to get onto this podcast and be like, I think this is the skin. And I did some Googling, and thankfully that was a consensus that most people had. And I was like, thank God. I was like, I would not have been able to defend that position if it was not a incredibly common one.
Yeah, this chapter or session or section, not session. This with our psychiatric encounter with Gravity's Rainbow. This section does indeed jump around to about 14 different perspectives.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There's definitely a narrator, and we're mostly kind of following Eventer. Yeah, we start off with the origin of his psychic abilities.
Just one day on the street.
Did y'all know what a screever was?
No.
They're like a sidewalk chalk artist.
Huh.
Oh.
It's like a British term. Apparently,
I'm glad they have
what's his name in
a word for
Mary
that.
Poppins is a screever.
Interesting. I wonder if Joe knows that.
Oh, Joe. Yeah, Joe, our
Joe, our British expert.
fan. Yeah, let us know if Screevers still show up. We don't have a word for that in America. That's
No.
just sidewalk
like street
artist.
artist. Yeah, like we wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot of sidewalk chalk art being done. Maybe there is.
No, I
By
feel like
people who
I don't
aren't
know.
children. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like the medium of choice anymore.
I feel like the equivalent that I see is like spray paint art on like cardboard canvases.
Was like Banksy, like, is he from a long, like, you know what I mean? Like, would he have been doing before spray paint? Been doing chalk art pop-ups?
Sidewalk chalk.
Sidewalk chalk.
There's like an immortal figure of Banksy who's been. There's Banksy's from like 1786. They just washed away.
It seems like something he would do. You could, sidewalk chalk, the wall gets cut off because it's got to go to a museum, but then it rains and now there's just wall where Banksy used to be.
Yeah. So anyways, one of these days, Carol Eventer just gets a connection to Peter, the control spirit that we encountered last time Carol was doing a séance.
This whole section, I don't know what exactly this trope is that shows up in movies over the years, but it's giving very like Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, or a TV show I would recommend to nobody, The Nevers, of like
the short-lived Joss Whedon asterisk project.
It was not a good TV show. But I feel like there's this like trope in TV and movies of like the sanctuary for people with various oddities or talents.
Our audience is probably screaming at us right now to mention X-Men. This is just sort of the X-Men to some extent.
They refer to them, I mean, the Trefoil guy is just like a bad X-Men character, but they refer to them as like the Xth program at one point. And I wrote in the notes, X-Men.
Yeah.
Maybe it's notable that I haven't seen the X-Men, that my reference points were Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children instead.
But it's also the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is another comic book. Or
Benedict's Home for... There's like there's a kids book series similarly of Peregrine's Home. Like that's like very common, is like a get a bunch of fun kids together and how do you ensue hijinks is to have them all have these little powers.
Superpowers.
It's less fun when they're all middle-aged and fighting over limited like research funding and they all have a lot of pride.
Well, this is also a movie that we have thought about doing for our Patreon pod. And you've read the book, Andrew, The Men Who Stare at Goats, which is also about government research into psychics.
We got to do The Men Who Stare at Goats.
As part of military programs. Yeah. So, I mean, stuff like this happened, certainly. Like, there's been military funding for weird magic and psychic stuff for about as long as there's been military funding. Because it sure would be great if it worked. Like, if you had the psychics on your side, holy shit, you'd win the war.
Yeah, you don't want to be the government that missed out on figuring out if psychics are for real.
There's a lot of like mid-level Pentagon guys giving thumbs up to things because it can make and break the career.
Yeah, like if you waste, a couple tens of millions of dollars on trying to see if psychics are real, like, no sweat. But if you don't, and it turns out the psychics are real and the enemy gets ahead of you on that one, that's country ending.
Well, and as we find out in the universe of Gravity's Rainbow, some of these Nazis were on to communing with the dead for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was
Daryl Eventer might be a little late to the game.
I think that was true in real life too, not just in this book.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, that would be a good, speaking of History Channel documentaries, just like a little bit like occult secrets of the Nazi war machine.
Yeah.
So, speaking of like classic pop culture tropes.
Yeah, Victoria Wren was also doing this. What was
Well,
it?
to use one of Pynchon's favorite words in V, it's kind of characteristic of like decadence in high society that you get into weird occult stuff.
Well, yeah, I guess we saw that in The Master of like the rich people hosting the party to commune with their past lives or whatever.
I think
Yeah. Did you all know?
seances were also really big in like at least in the United States in like the teens and the 20s. I don't know so much about by the time the war is happening, but there was a point where people were really into this kind of thing, just as like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. I mean, it's roughly contemporaneous with some of the, I mean, not exactly, but within a couple decades of some of the V in love stuff.
Yeah, I
Turn
kept
of the
wondering
century.
if they were gonna, if at any point we were gonna run into. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, people are plugging stuff into Carol Eventer. They're taking EEGs. Do y'all know what the Canals of Mars controversy is? Have y'all heard of this before?
No.
Just explain. I think I might know what it is, but
It's like back in the day when telescopes got good enough, folks took a look at Mars and were like, oh my God, there's like canals on there. And then there was like, because of, it has to do with like scholarship working across languages and like the distinction between canals and channels and et cetera, like people came up with all these theories about how there were large scale sort of hydrological engineering projects on the surface of Mars. And then other people were highly doubtful that Mars had dams and canals built into it, but there was a sort of pseudo-scientific theory about that sort of thing. Just another one of these kind of pseudo-scientific research enterprises that Carol and the rest of the White Visitation seems to traffic in, but kind of a neat one.
was what I was thinking about.
Alan Lamplighter, Spectro's and Pointsman's gambling buddy, shows up again, which makes me think he might show up again, because he's now shown up in 2 consecutive
I'm gonna write him down.
episodes. Yeah, he's the gambler. But we spend a lot of time in this sequence with Ronald Cherrycoke, who kind of puts his fingers on stuff and can see the history of the objects and the person who owned them.
I feel like that's definitely a common superpower in TV.
Oh, there's like 6 Jedi in Star Wars who can do that.
Who's the guy with the
I
yellow
definitely-
face?
Guy with the yellow
yellow
face.
like under his eye paint.
The like
dude
surfer
Jedi.
guy.
Yeah.
Quinlan Voss?
Yeah, Quinlan Voss. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, Quinlan Voss. Yeah, Cal Kestis from the video games also has psychometry. Psychometry? I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyways, yeah. Shout out to Quinlan Voss. Shout out to friend of the show, Quinlan Voss. So that's what Ronald Cherrycoke is up to.
I feel like, is that also the power of Phoebe and Charmed?
Could be. You're the Charmed watcher.
Yeah, I know. I know she sees the future and the past, but I was trying to remember if it was tied to objects.
You're thinking of That's So Raven with Raven Simone.
Maybe, honestly.
Dude, Raven Simone would have been great at the White Visitation.
Raven Simone is a kind of Pynchon-esque name. I gotta give it to her.
Yeah.
I gotta give it to her parents.
Anyways.
I'm a big fan of Margaret Quartertone's power. That's fun. Sort of over recording documents, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's like a neat
Like astral projection of voice recording. She's kind of
it's a
doing
little different.
She was kind of doing podcasts of Aunt Lillette. It's just like you wake up one morning and there's a new Margaret Quartertone waiting for you on your
She's just
your recording discs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wonder how these people's abilities change as technology progresses and changes.
You think she's able to
Like-
overwrite floppy disks? She'd lived to the 90s.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, or now, do you think she could, write on?
Overwrite everything? Overwrite your
Well,
your refrigerator.
let's
and your
ask
email.
her ourselves, and here she is now.
Hi,
Shoot,
Margaret.
the connection's not working. Hang on. Something's gone horribly wrong. I like Paul de la Nuit, who's just an automatist who's doing all this automatic writing that no one can read. It's just total gibberish. No one can crack whatever code he's writing in. But he's on the payroll for it. I guess he's on the payroll to be the chaplain, but he's also doing this on the side.
What does it mean to be an automatist? Like, is he writing, or has he developed like a robot that's writing?
He's writing. So, like, the surrealists did some of this too, where like you kind of try to turn your brain off, and it's sort of stream of consciousness, but it's supposed to be even more automatic than that.
Is it kind of like a tarot card, like not a tarot card, a Ouija board, where you're trying to like...
Sort of, kind of, yeah. Except you might be doing it like while you're asleep, or the idea is that you engage with the unconscious part of your brain instead of the conscious part of your brain that normally does the writing, and you tap into it directly. But Paul's just writing nonsense, it seems. But the real weird one is Gavin, who's only 17 and is having a hell of a senior year.
How do they find these people? Like, how did they...
Good.
I really want to know what the recruiting strategy is.
We're bound to meet the recruiter at some point. But Gavin can change his skin tone, which we learn Gerhard von Gerl found really helpful for producing the Schwarzkommando footage. Because I guess he not only was he presumably able to, I guess, do... I was going to say do his own blackface, but we don't know what race Gavin is, I guess.
No,
he could be black.
It says...
no, he's pasty. He's
it says
pale.
He's sort of... if he's not focusing on it, he will slowly sort of
revert to his
back
natural
to his sort of, like I think they say Irish skin tone.
His rest state. Yeah, pale.
Yeah, okay, so he can do his own blackface, but also he can be a light reflector, which is how Von Gerl likes using him, because he can bounce light in specific frequencies off of his face for lighting a shot.
Yeah, this is an interesting bit.
I mean, we're definitely, like, we've encountered this conundrum both in the text and in the themes of the books of racial anxiety and appearances of black and white oscillating back and forth several times in this book already. And here we have a character whose kind of main thing thus far is being able to do that on command.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that we had previously encountered, what was it, the chemical?
Tyrosine. Yeah, so he can metabolize tyrosine, which was one of the active ingredients in Cryptosam that turns into melanin when semen hits it.
Right. The
Pirate
invisible
Prentice's
ink.
secret note. Remember Pirate Prentice? Wonder what he's up to.
The banana breakfast.
I found it. It says that he has his rest state is a pale, freckled redhead's complexion. I said Irish. That's my bad. It doesn't say Irish in the text.
And this is our lead in to Rollo Gross is kind of trying to figure out how this works and hypothesizes that it has to do with, quote, some surviving cell memory that will, retrocolonial, still respond to messages from the metropolitan brain. Again, we get one of these metaphors of cities and colonies existing not just as an imperial structure, but as a bureaucratic structure, now as kind of a bodily structure, that the body also functions as a kind of empire.
It's sort of similar, I guess, to what we've been talking about, some ditches where these cells like haven't been able to clear themselves all the way back to like their base programming of zero. They sort of have this memory.
Yeah, memory is all over the place here. Things, yeah. I mean, this is also the basis of psychometry, is that the objects have memories, even though we don't think of them as having them.
Yeah, that is interesting. I feel like a lot of these people's powers are related to tapping into memories, connecting to other people's memories.
Spirits are memories of people who have departed. Yeah. I mean, what
Interesting.
is the brain if not just an interface between inside memories and outside stimulus?
The cortex.
Cortex. So speaking of bureaucracies, the skin cells are in a silly little bureaucracy here. This also felt very much like a cartoon trope of, I definitely know there's an episode of SpongeBob where it goes inside SpongeBob's brain and there's a bunch of little SpongeBobs running around an office controlling SpongeBob's brain, and there's like filing cabinets and stuff. That's what I imagined here.
I was thinking of, did you guys ever see the Bugs Life ripoff movie Ants?
Oh yeah.
I was in Ants household growing up, not a Bugs Life household.
I spent like a while, like somewhat recently, trying to tease apart what I remembered from Bugs Life and what I remembered from Ants, because I just merged them into the same movie in my brain.
Is Ants the one with Woody Allen?
No.
Yes, I'm here to confirm. Ants is the one with Woody Allen and Sylvester Stallone and Gene Hackman and Danny Glover. Wow, Ants cast is stacked. Except for Woody Allen. I'm not saying that Woody Allen is a good get for your movie, but Danny Glover.
Anyway, there's a scene, I think, where the main character sort of joins the army, the ant army, and it just has no idea what he's about to get into, and he's hanging out with his big buff ant friend who's like, you ready to throw down? And then they go fight the termites, and that's kind of how I felt here, where it's like the skin cells first day on the job, and he's like, I can't wait to go see the outside and then come back in. And they're like, that's not how this works, Bucky. We're going up.
Is that where they... Okay, several things. First of all, is that the section in the movie where they sing the ants go marching one by one?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that was the main thing I remembered from that movie. That song.
The termite
gets stuck
war
in my head.
is, I feel like, a little traumatizing for like a 4-year-old.
Second thing is I did not put together the skin situation here. So a lot of things are becoming clear to me in this particular moment. I just was very lost in this whole interchange that was going on. Just in case the listener is too, you're not alone.
It's kind of terrifying. This, once again, Pynchon is just really good at naming things. The outer radiance. Millions of us changed to interface, to horn, and no feeling, and silence.
Oh, this makes so much more sense. I thought this was like a conversation between like Nora. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I mean,
it might
confused.
Be. Everyone is kind of at the interface here. This could be focalized, but yeah, when they say sooner or later everyone out here has to go epidermal.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
The thing for me that got me was when they say middle of the night or during the worst part of an ultra-violent bombardment. Very anti-day. Much like Thomas Pynchon himself.
Damn, you're right.
Yeah, spinning for fame.
Against the day.
Whoa.
We'll get there. Hopefully. One of these days.
I'm just going to put a little star by this section for myself to
I can't wait to get to it Against the Day, and Thomas Pynchon is like, here's 1,000 pages of my thoughts on why I dislike the sun. Number 1. And we're like, oh, finally. Finally spells it out for us.
This is also kind of giving Magic School Bus. Where they like shrink down to the size of a cell.
We haven't referenced sort of 90s and 2000s children's cartoons in a while to explain Thomas Pynchon, so this is good. This is a return to form.
Important.
CNS is central nervous system, I presume.
I like this as a skin dialogue. It's interesting. So they're like the internal skin cells, and then it says they're changed to interface.
Cortex.
But I think that touches on this idea that is carrying through these sequences, which is that the interface is a little fluid or muddy sometimes, not necessarily static. We can come back to that.
So we cut again to a really intricately detailed paragraph concerning this woman walking across carpet. To the extent, I feel like one of the wildest sentences I've ever read is the simple sentence, behind her steps, the carpet relaxes ceilingward, sole and heel shapes disappearing visibly slow out of the wool pile.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever...
That's how rugs work, Patrick.
It's how rugs work. I just don't think I've ever seen it described in text. You know? Sometimes you get a sentence and you're like, that's one I've never read about before. And relaxes ceilingward? Come on. Come on, Thomas.
Raising your hand, Dory?
No, I was trying to envision a carpet relaxing ceiling word with my hand. That was not great podcasting.
It's okay. Talking about it is good podcasting. This is Nora. What do we know? Can we name things we know about Nora?
She has a husband who isn't Carol Eventer or any of the other boys.
Where does that said?
It's wait, I've lost the beginning of this section. She's late to a date with him. Because of what's his face's initial.
Because Cherry Coke was doing another experiment?
Wait. Keep going. I'll find it.
That's interesting because that's kind of a running theme that we have with like all of the men in this book is that they seem to be having affairs with women who are married to men who aren't in this book.
Who aren't in the book yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's Pirate, that's Roger, that's Cherry Coke, that's there's another mention at the end of this chapter.
Well, so
going into next chapter, that's Lenny and Peter.
Okay, I've got the quote.
Okay.
This is in the first paragraph of this section, page 147. Some of it was German, some of the words she remembered. She would ask her husband, whom she was to meet that afternoon out in Surrey, arriving late though. All the shadows, men, women, and dogs, chimneys, blah, blah, blah. That was during his, because she was hanging out with Eventer when he has his initial séance, and she's like, oh, I gotta ask.
Yes. Meanwhile, when it says, so is he in this section, is it Eventer or is it Cherry Coke? It's Eventer.
I think this is Eventer, right? Like on page 152.
Yeah.
I thought this was Eventer. Although Cherry Coke is also into Nora.
Cherry Coke is into Nora. I mean, everyone seems into Nora, but Cherry Coke is trying to get to the bottom of her psychology through the psychometry. Meanwhile, this, when we're focalized into, can he have loved her for nearly a decade? It's incredible. The connoisseuse of splendid weakness. Yes, which is what she says about Eventer. Nora Dodson Truck once called it his quote unquote splendid weakness. So yeah, this is, I was correct in my summary. I was sweating for a minute there that my summary was incorrect. So she is having an affair with Carol. Presumably she's still with her husband. I guess we don't know because that was 10 years ago when they had their meet cute.
Wait, are they having an affair? It says if she loves him, he's too passive. He hasn't the nerve as Cherry Coke tried, or hasn't the nerve to reach in as Carrie Coke tried to.
He just loves her.
He just got a crush.
He has a crush. Yeah. Okay. Revise my earlier summary. Okay. So Nora has or had a husband.
She's very pretty.
Cherry Coke is interested in...
He's a Scorpio.
Reaching into her depths. She's a Scorpio.
There's a lot of scarves.
There's a lot of zodiac signs in this. I mean, obviously, not like in this book. In like these 3 sections, it's constantly talking about what everyone's zodiac sign is.
But also in the book thus far, we've had Pisces, we've had Scorpio, Moss Moon, yeah.
Yeah. No, and we get more, and Lenny is quite into astrology.
Yeah, these sections just felt like they were really getting hit over the head with it. Because even like in Lenny's section, she talks about it a lot. But then even in these other sections, we get, like here, just like a little more casually referenced.
She is obsessed with the Zero, that's capital Z. She kind of plays around with Cherry Coke, who she can tell is trying to understand her, and doesn't always let on when, like in a game of Battleship, he's actually hit on something real.
I feel like I was reminded of Victoria Wren several times during these sections that we read. And one of the times was in this description. It must astonish her, Nora so heartless, Cherry Coke kneeling, stirring her silks, between his hands old history flowing in eddy currents, scarves of lime, aqua, lavender passing, pins, brooches, opalescent scorpions, her birth sign inside gold mountings, and Triskelion shoe buckles, broken nacre fans. And,
yeah, that's like a pearl, right?
Okay.
Nacre.
And theater programs, suspender tabs, dark, lank, pre-austerity stockings. And it keeps going and described as like a flow of objects, which reminded me a lot of V, which in several sequences had sort of like lengthy descriptions of objects or expensive objects, ivory, like other things, especially including in relationship to Victoria Wren and her decadence. This kind of reminded me of that.
Well, and their pre-austerity stockings, they, one, haven't worn out, or if her stockings have worn out, then she has enough in supply that she can reach back in.
Yeah, or she has a supplier of nice stockings on the black market.
Yeah, we began this book going beyond the Zero, and we're kind of ending with this figure who seems intimately related with the quote-unquote ideology of the Zero. Nora so heartless, her void.
What do you think the ideology of the Zero is?
I wish I knew.
Not a clue.
I hope we find out. I hope understanding this section right now is not essential to my understanding of the rest of the book.
Oh, me neither, Patrick.
I'm assuming it will become clearer later.
I thank you both for illuminating parts of this section that I promise I'll have more intelligent observations in coming sections.
Idea. We know that Slothrop draws the V2 after he has sex. If Zero is actually an O, then ... O being for orgasm.
Yeah, the big O.
Yeah.
Oh.
Overstock.com.
Not a sponsorship.
Not a sponsorship. I don't think they even exist anymore.
Don't worry, Pynchon pals. We will let you know when we get a sponsorship.
We will sell
any
out
day now
to someone one of these days. Probably not Overstock. That'd be fun, though.
Yeah, this is definitely, to Thomas Pynchon and his penchant for scary women, this is yet another scary woman. She is frightening, Eventer says. Lastly, we get to Basher St. Blaise again. We kind of return to Cherry Coke's current project, which is this Palm Sunday mission over Lubeck, where St. Blaise swears he sees an angel. I would make some references at this point to the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, but I think that might not play well to my audiences right now, so I'll just leave that hanging for the listener to go. If you've seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he tries to call out to, I guess, everyone in the squadron, and no one else is able to communicate back except for his wingman. And then when he gets back, he looks at all the radio equipment, and it all looks good. But no one could speak during that time.
Their call signs are Freak Show, presumably Freak Show 1 and Freak Show 2. We get this this recurring image of the Freak Show continues in this chapter. and these chapters in general, especially associated with the white visitation. So this definitely seems like a what the kids today call a biblically accurate angel. There's fiery leagues of face. The eyes went towering for miles. Irises red as embers, faring through yellow to white as they jettisoned all their bombs in no particular pattern. The planes. It was not included in the official debriefing.
He's scared. I don't know what WAAF stands for, but he's scared that he's going to be interrogated by two literally minded officer who has sent other people to
psychiatric wards because
for similar reports.
Yeah, one of them swears that they saw a Valkyrie over Peenemunde, which is where some of the V2 research was done. Someone else saw gremlins. This
off
of his plane wings.
Bright blue gremlins scattering like spiders off his Typhoon's wings and falling gently to the woods of The Hague in little parachutes of the same color. Do you guys know what he's talking about? Does Weissenberger?
Gremlins. I know gremlins are like a World War II thing that it comes out of mechanical problems in planes and stuff in World War II.
There's I guess Wikipedia refers to it as an aerial phenomenon, but it's sort of
I don't know about the aerial phenomenon.
What the rock band the Foo Fighters are named after. A Foo Fighter is, I guess, a set of these aerial phenomenon reported by pilots during World War II, like all over the, in both, it says the European and the Pacific theaters. There were, I think, afterwards attributed to such things as like electrostatic phenomena similar to St. Elmo's fire, but also like reflections off ice crystals. But pilots often seem to be reporting like seeing lights flying after them at night, and like multiple pilots in the same squadron report seeing the same lights, and like different sort of UFO type stuff. But like no one was ever, it's not like any of these ever got like shot down, but just like different types of
that we know of.
Yeah, I guess no one who made it back to wherever they were coming from to report them got shot down. But yeah, there's like, I guess it became a thing during the war to see these like different bright blinking lights, and people
I did not know
don't really know what it was, but do attribute it, I think, to being like, I think the thing I saw something about this independently of this reading recently, which is why I sort of connected this. But it said that it was sort of the first time a lot of flying was being done at night during the war. Like before that, people didn't fly at night. And so there was sort of a new frontier of things people were reporting about how like flying at night affects people and like what you would see at night in the sky.
Interesting. Maybe the angel is part of that.
I think it's a real angel.
You do?
I think
it's Palm Sunday after all.
We have been visited.
Do you think it's like a nice angel or like a scary angel, like in Midnight Mass?
I mean, it ain't saying be not afraid. So my thinking is maybe we should be afraid.
Maybe a scary angel.
I liked the sentence, but damn it, this was not a cloud.
And word of the angel got out because of the probing of objects. Cherry Coke sort of revealed some of these memories, and then Carol Eventer tried to connect with St. Blaise's wingmen to learn more about this via Peter, who I just wanted to note for the listener that I have an annotation that I added later after reading this section and getting confused next to Peter's name where I just say dead. Because I kept getting mixed up between which characters were alive and which characters were dead in this chapter.
Yeah, Patrick, I think you mentioned this last time that we didn't know about this, that in the séance, there's a control, and that is a friendly ghost. There's a Casper-esque figure who is helping you communicate with the people on the other side. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
And that is Peter.
That is Peter, who I didn't catch the sentence the first time I went through, but Peter, we know precisely when he dies. He was taken forcibly over in 1930 by a blow from a police truncheon during street action in Neukölln.
Do we know where Neukölln is?
It's a neighborhood in Berlin.
Okay.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Hooray. Yeah, so it seems like Peter was also kind of a medium of his time, and so reached out to Carol on one fine day a few years back, and they've kind of been inseparable ever since, it seems like.
And Evanter, I guess he talks, Evanter, the book talks, Evanter talks, someone talks about, I don't know if other people knew this, that I guess he doesn't remember what he says during the seance, that he's just sort of relying on other people's reports after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of like hearsay. It's like Carol is trying to reach Terrence Overbaby
Through Peter Sasha.
He knows about Terrence Overbaby because of Cherry Coke probing objects from this flight, and Terrence Overbaby knows about this angel because of Saint Blaise.
He was there.
He was the
only other person who saw the angel.
But there's a lot of people's memories and a lot of interfaces. Interface on interface on interface. Kind of like the skin.
Vortices.
Wow.
I'm glad that plural came back up.
There it is. Good.
Layers on layers on layers.
Good job, Andrew. So, I mean, that's why, who was it? Edwin Treacle is like, really we should be studying what's going on here. Because, like, this is a weird social like, we are our own sociological study. We don't even need to worry about the objects of our actual study. This is enough right here for a book or two. So Peter thinks back to these days in the Weimar Republic. Vimpa, the IG man, is here. They're taking Hierapons, which is a fictional drug invented by Pynchon.
And he's with our old buddy, Lieutenant Weissman.
Lieutenant Weissman, recently back from Southwest Africa, and the Herero aid he'd brought with him. What do we want to remind people? Lieutenant Weissman.
Yeah, he's not, in fact, our buddy, or anyone's buddy. He was the guy at the V2 rocket base, right? That was keeping the Hansel and Gretel situation.
No.
Am I wrong?
Is he?
No, I thought I figured out one thing in this chapter.
No, Blacaro is the Hansel and Gretel guy.
Blacaro.
I was confused for a second, too. We do talk about Weissman.
Wasn't Blacaro also in Southwest Africa?
Yes.
What? All the Germans have been to Southwest Africa.
Let's take a step back. What do we know about Lieutenant Weissman? A character who shows up in V.
Oh, he showed up in V. That's how I know him.
Uh-huh. Do you remember what Weissman's up to?
Did he own the castle?
No, he was at the castle. He was the guy. So Kurt Mondagen is there doing atmospheric research. We'll get to him in a minute.
We'll get to Kurt.
He's there doing atmospheric research.
I remembered Kurt.
Weissman is the guy who first thinks that Mondagen is a spy who's sending out messages, and then begins to think that the atmospheric readings that Mondagen is receiving are actually a secret code. And he's the guy who figures out, allegedly, in the end, that the readings say the world is all that the case is.
That guy?
The Wittgenstein quote.
Who's
that guy?
Is he the one that's in the relationship with V?
No, he's dating... oh, wait. He is dating the woman who we see on the roof. So yeah, that is V.
Vera.
Vera Maraving.
Maraving. He's dating Vera Maraving.
Yes.
And he keeps trying to like sneak into the room where Mondoggin is with the other guy.
He cross-dresses and sneaks in and steals the data. Is that him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I did not put that together. Wow, everyone was. It's just the same group of people, but they're back in Germany.
The whole sick crew is here again.
I think I've already said this. There are people who've read this book who haven't read V. If you are one of those people and you're listening,
you got to go back
speak,
and read
Stop right now.
Hit pause. We're at about 90 minutes into this episode. Go back, read V. There's 13 great episodes, I think. 12 or 13 we did on V. That'll explain all of this. Then come back, hit play on GR episode 4 about 90 minutes in.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Gravity's Rainbow episode. If you've just
how
was it? For you,
6 months later, welcome back.
For you, it's been 6 months, but for us, only 4 seconds have passed.
Wow. Lieutenant Weissman. So V, okay, we are just right there with V. I was wondering,
missing her.
I was wondering if V was going to show back up, and we're just right there.
Yeah.
The rocket is a V2.
It's named V2. V. I'm mad that V just is that this is a sequel. That we're literally just reading a sequel.
Is V2.
Yeah, like an unadvertised sequel.
Now I do have. This is actually one of the Weisenberger ideas or points that I wanted to bring out.
We asked
because we're talking about
one of the questions we got in the V question and answer was, who do we want to have a spin-off novel? And apparently it was Weissman.
I don't think my answer or Kurt Mondoggin.
Kurt Mondoggin.
Which I don't think would have been my answer necessarily.
I think Andrew called that Kurt would probably show back up.
It made sense. Knowing that it made sense. I didn't think it was going to be this direct of a. I guess I figured he'd show up. I didn't think it was going to be like this. Just is the sequel to that book.
Yeah.
Little did we know it was all Mondoggin's story.
Yeah. Since we're talking about titles,
thank you for laughing at that, Andrew. I've been holding on to that.
Did we? It's what is it? The Tommy Westfall universe at the end of Saint Elsewhere, or whatever that show is. The whole show is revealed to be a dream by the little kid who's sick in bed, looking into his snow globe. But then that show had a bunch of crossovers with other primetime TV shows, and like all of Law and Order and the X-Files and Breaking Bad, and like 90% of American television is revealed to be a dream by this sick kid. Look up Tommy Westfall universe. Fun fact I was gonna say a second ago when we were talking about names for the book, and this being V2, the quote, mindless hours of the day, comes up in a later chapter here. Pynchon's original title for Gravity's Rainbow was Mindless Pleasures, which is less of a good title.
That is less of a good title.
Yeah.
It's nearly as bad as him calling V the Republican Party is a machine.
Yeah, whatever editor Pynchon was working with definitely helped in that iterative process. Or Pynchon just iterated well himself.
Yeah, one of the two. So yes, Lieutenant Weissman, back from Southwest Africa, the Herero aid he'd brought with him.
And then we get a little literary device where we just get like one thought from each person that's like in this like seance room.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what was going on here.
I think so, yeah. They all have their like hands up. They're looking around the table. Or I guess maybe their eyes are closed, but they these are their thoughts, I believe.
So Carol Eventer is holding a seance.
Trying to get to Overbaby.
And where we've landed is another seance?
Yeah, that Peter had one time. Every time Carol calls Peter for a seance, Peter is a little bit like, I remember seances.
Okay, so we're having a séance of a séance.
Yeah. I don't know if this happens like every time Eventer does a séance with Peter, but this time we're getting some backstory on Peter.
Okay.
So that we can go into the next section.
But there are two séances taking place. One in the present day and one in the past.
Yeah.
This one is, the one that we're seeing is in the past, but there's like the narrative, the framing device is the White Visitation séance that Carol Eventer is performing.
We get an interesting little bit here just under this that is rendered Mbarara Mereto Ondiose.
I assumed that was the thought fragment from the Herero aid.
Yes, so Weisenberger, who I keep nearly calling Weissman because we're talking about Weissman and also Weisenberger, who wrote the companion, says that...
I thought you were just saying Weissman's name wrong. I'm sorry to Weisenberger.
He writes that the first phrase was taken directly out of Brinkner's grammar of the Herero language, except that Pynchon has chosen to regularize Brinkner's transliteration of the Herero to make it consistent with Kolbe, his English source on the language, etc., etc. It translates as, or various parts of this translate as, I have dreamed a nightmare. I saw him in my dream as if he were alive. And then there is another observation from Fowler, who wrote A Reader's Guide to Gravity's Rainbow, that says the Herero lexicon involves an elaborate pattern of meanings organized around motions that are animate, like a spider's, and inanimate, like the wind, and around things in a state of rest, like a stone. For instance, this word that is nightmare or phantom on Jose stems from the motion of a spider, and this spins us into the quote-unquote giant web and the twisting of yarns or cordage in Pynchon's following lines.
Who knew that Pynchon's animacy and inanimacy obsession also harkened back to the Herero people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to know what sparked Thomas Pynchon's interest in the Herero people and their mythology and their various historical tragedies.
It's a good question. We could ask Thomas if he ever comes on the pod.
Will be the first interview, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the first question.
Certainly.
So this moves us into they're talking about the Herero mythosphere in the White Visitation. The dead are as real as the living. Mexico is having a conversation.
We cut away from the seance in the seance to the conversation that Mexico is having with Treacle.
Yes.
Just in case anyone else was having a hard time following this.
And then we cut back to, this is where Carol is thinking through the transcripts of various seances he's had involving Peter and Peter's obsessive love for Lenny Pokler, who is married to a young chemical engineer and also active with the KPD, or the Communist Party, which turns into our next chapter, our next episode, our next sequence.
I thought it was interesting that they described Lenny here as being in captivity, because she had a clear hatred of a life she would not leave, a husband she didn't love, a child she had not learned to escape feeling guilty for not loving enough. I kind of underlined that. I felt like that maybe it was just because we had just watched Tamala, the space cat, who seemed to be dealing with some captivity of her own.
And an unloving mother.
And maybe being captive without necessarily realizing she was captive.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, I feel like we have that running theme of Jessica maybe also being somewhat captive in this life. It's an interesting framing because it kind of takes agency away from the woman a little bit.
Yeah. Well, she's both trapped by social circumstance and also kind of trapped in herself. There is some self-hatred here of she has not learned to escape feeling guilty for not loving her child enough.
Yeah, and I guess we've had the running theme of the Hansel and Gretel sort of captivity, cage situation going on. So I'll just be interested to see how that theme continues to develop.
Should we take a break before tackling the next section?
Probably should.
Let's do it.
Or yeah, now is the time.
I think now is the moment.
All right. We will take a journey back in time right after this.
Sit down, weary traveler, I am not what you seek. Join me in a meal to hear of my repentance.
Welcome back. It's time for section... not section. What do we decide? Sequence. Joe, apologies to Joe. We may just call these
there.
whatever. We'll see what we end up calling.
We're 4 episodes in. It's hard to change midstream.
Sequence 119. Flashback to the Weimar Republic. Leni Pöckler is shivering in a dormitory with her infant daughter Ilse. She's surrounded by Rufi, Vanya, and Rebecca, a quote-unquote slice of Berlin life arguing over revolutionary politics. Leni fantasizes rather anti-Semitically about an erotic encounter with Rebecca and imagines a free love bathhouse utopia. Graffiti outside reads, "An army of lovers can be beaten." She's run off from her conservative husband Franz, a chemical engineer who recently reunited with his old college buddy Kurt Mondaugen at a rocket research facility after a long stint of unemployment and a dark night of the soul. She arrives at Peter's house to find a séance in full swing, attended by Nazi big shots and IG Farben execs. They contact the spirit of Walter Rathenau, the real-life orchestrator of Germany's World War I military-industrial complex, who ominously opines on coal tar, the color mauve, and the essential movement, quote-unquote, from death to death transfigured. Then, one of the Nazis makes a crack about his Jewishness.
When Kurt Mondaugen showed up in this chapter, because I did not previously recognize Lieutenant Weissman, I loudly exclaimed. I was like, what?
That's the reaction Tommy was probably hoping everyone would have.
Except not everyone read V, I don't think.
But a lot of people read V.
You think?
It won like a National Book Award.
Okay.
It got him a second and third book.
That's fair.
Which is something. And this came out some of this I think is helped by the fact that we're reading these back to back, but like this book came out 1973 and V came out 1964, I want to say 1963. So yeah, 10 full years passed between V and Gravity's Rainbow coming out.
Okay, so people's memories were foggier than ours.
Yeah, a lot of time to have read about Mondaugen and subsequently forgotten about Mondaugen.
I bet a lot of people did not remember who Lieutenant Weissman was.
You know who didn't forget about these characters? Thomas Pynchon.
It's true.
He was like, I gotta get back to them at some point.
Thomas Pynchon.
Wasn't he writing these kind of at the same time?
Probably.
I imagine Thomas Pynchon has a sort of bingo-esque birdcage full of ping pong balls with characters' names on them. And when he needs a character, he just cranks the thing and sees what character he's bringing back from a previous book.
I thought you were about to say that he has one for first names and one for last names. And it's just like, Ronald Cherry Coke.
He definitely, yeah. I mean, I can only imagine what's going on now. And then is there a Thomas Pynchon name generator online?
If not, we should make one. Good advertising.
Don't publish this until we
it's
make
right
sure.
Next,
if the
it's right next to the Star Wars name generator.
Okay, wait, yeah. There is pynchonname.com. Type. Okay, wait. I'm doing it. I'm entering my name, Andrew. Your Pynchon name is Andrew Warblang.
It didn't even change your first name.
Yeah, wait.
God, we all gotta look this up.
I know.
now.
I gotta do it for me.
Yeah. Okay. So it is
named.
just you get a first. You get a first. You give the first name, and it seems to keep not Andrew Hilarious. Andrew Fallopian.
Ooh.
Oh, jeez.
I'm Reverend Dury Slogiot.
Interesting. Slogiot.
Okay. Andrew Bongo Shaftesbury was a Tibetan Chilean cyclical detective. His
That's
demeanor
the same
was
description
grave.
I got.
Jeez. These websites don't.
Are we just going to get spoilers for future Thomas
Yeah, I
Pynchon
think we
characters?
are.
So
Yeah.
mine, I will say, because I typed it in, my Pynchon name is Professor Patrick St. Cosmo, which is not terrible.
I think some of these are just like
these are,
combinations of different characters because I'm also a Chilean Tibetan psychical detective, but in my Navy days, I would periodically put on a babushka and let the members of a gang line up in the compartment to pinch my cheeks.
ugh. Okay, I got.
Ugh.
I don't like
that
that.
got weirder as I read it.
I just got Andrew Bloody Drablet, which is. That's a Crying of Lot 49 ass name. Because both of those
I feel
people
like
are
we
in the
should
Crying
make one
Lot
of these
49.
that just like makes new names and doesn't just append Pynchon names to our names.
I'll just read my description because I think this also feels somewhat V-inspired. Professor Patrick St. Cosmo was a retired Quebecois Maltese propeller salesman. Since childhood, he repaired the wall surrounding his desert home, mortared, carried heavy stone, heavy as he, lifted, set in place. Still the desert came.
Jesus. Isn't that the guy?
Well, that was a
That's the
fun-
guy from we've met that guy. That's the
Yeah,
guy
the
in
desert.
the desert. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. One of the guys in the one who was worried about the desert, or who nihilistically accepted that the desert was the end of all things. The angel, he was worried about the angel in the desert.
Really?
Yeah, remember that?
I remember being worried.
The guy in V.
I remember the guy. I didn't remember the angel.
Yeah, he was worried about Gabriel, the
Oh,
archangel
oh,
shoot,
Gabriel
yeah.
blowing the horn,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the Islamic version of the name Gabriel.
It's almost
Gabriel.
like Thomas Pynchon was a little scared
Gabriel,
by
yeah.
angels in his Catholic upbringing.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are in the Weimar Republic. Lenny is here.
I feel the need to disclose to the listener that most of my knowledge of the Weimar Republic comes from the musical Cabaret.
Could be
Just-
further from the mark.
Contextually, I feel like that's important as I interpret this segment.
Patrick, where does most of your
I think-
understanding of the Weimar Republic come from?
Cabaret, like 3 episodes of a TV show I've told myself for nearly a decade now I'll get back to, called Babylon Berlin.
Oh yeah, I watched one
Uh,
episode of that. Never went back.
Yeah. It's a great show for watching a couple episodes of and being like, this is pretty good. I should keep watching this, and then not keeping up with it. But one of these days.
I read Berlin Alexanderplatz, which is where I'm going to say most of my Weimar information has kind of come from. And that tracks pretty well with this, so that worked out for me.
That's great, Andrew. We studied a little bit of the peacemaking period when I was in high school, but it's been a long time. So
Luckily, Thomas Pynchon is here to help fill in the gaps.
thank you, Thomas.
We have revolutionary politics right off the bat. Franz is Lenny's Piscean husband, whereas she is, what is she? She's a crab.
Yeah. Cancer.
What is that one? Cancer. It says crab. Cut me some slack.
And then Peter is Earth sign.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know what that. I'm not very good at astrology.
I don't think any of us are, but
And
I think
there's
that's
like
becoming quickly apparent.
Earth sign is like a category of them. There's like 3 or 4 that are Earth
Yeah.
signs.
Okay.
I guess probably 3 if there's.
someone is a Taurus at one point. I don't know if that is Franz. It might be Franz.
I thought Franz was Piscean.
Franz, yeah.
Oh yeah, Franz is Piscean. Peter might be Taurus.
Okay, which maybe is one of the Earth signs.
Yeah. In any case, she's sheltering here in the dormitory. Weisenberger points out that an army of lovers can be beaten. I didn't catch this, despite going long on Plato's Phaedrus on a prior episode of our podcast. Kind of interpolates that like an army of lovers would be like the strongest army there is. Socrates is talking about at one point in the Phaedrus dialogue.
Why?
About like madness and erotic love, and Socrates in particular is talking about throughout that whole dialogue like the love between a mature man and his beautiful young boy beloved. So make of that what you will, but that's kind of the army of lovers that he's talking about.
What pertinence do you think that has for the story at hand here?
I think there's like, we talked in the last episode, I think, about like sort of the space of queerness in Pynchon, and here it like certainly shows up in this kind of like bathhouse fantasy, but it's also tinged with Linny's. She's both a revolutionary and a leftist, but also kind of a raging anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Or at least she has internalized a lot of anti-Semitism and can't really square it with her politics.
I think this is what I learned from Berlin Alexanderplatz, is that everyone, I think, was just an anti-Semite. Like whatever they were doing whatever they were doing, and they were also an anti-Semite. Like I think that was just, it's safe to assume 1930s Germany, probably just 1930s Europe, everyone's an anti-Semite, and then they're either on top of that doing things that are good or bad.
Yeah. Or they themselves are Jewish.
Yes, true. Yes.
That's
if you're
the third
not
option.
Jewish, you are an anti-Semite.
Yeah. Yeah, first of all, it is interesting that we're just in like a straight flashback here. I think this is the first time in the book that we have just started a chapter in a very different time and place that is totally disconnected from any of the main action.
Feels like V.
Just like a new character, new place. Even when we had like the Katya stuff, it starts out that we're in Pirates Maisonette, and then we kind of move into it. Here, it's just like, all right, new sequence.
And it's narrated. We're not getting some sort of stencilized story.
I mean, or are we? What dead are we contacting at this point?
I guess that's true. We've interfaced through interface. This could be coming through Carol, through Peter.
Yeah, is this
Well,
just-
no, but it is Linny. This feels like a third person.
It does, yeah. I'm not sure this is directly related to the séance,
It
but
feels like a flashback, but we'll see.
yeah. But even within this, what I was going to say is it's like very dreamlike. You kind of get the sense of the cold, starving immiseration of these somewhat petulant, somewhat idealistic students and leftist thinkers.
Is it the smell of cabbage
Could be the smell
that
of
brings
cabbage.
you back? That brings you there.
And like, yeah, I get why you would just start like fantasizing about anywhere except this kind of gross dormitory, even if that place is like, what if everyone in this room were naked and having sex in a bathhouse, and then all of our other friends were there and they were also hep to get it on in the bathhouse?
Who is Richard Hirsch? Do
He's
we know?
He's from Mausigstrasse. Otherwise, no, I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if we. Okay,
I don't think we've
I feel like
encountered-
he might come to have more significance because he seems important to Linny.
Yeah.
If we continue to spend time with Linny, he sort of shows up in her fantasy of the bathhouse as being sort of who she falls in love with in the bathhouse, and kind of seems like he used to follow her around when she was a child.
Mm-hmm.
As best I could put together. But anyways, I was wondering if he would come back up later.
Old gymnasium friends.
Yeah, this is a fictional street. There is no Mausigstrasse, which means Mousy Street.
You wouldn't want to live there.
Mm-mm.
What is the gymnasium? Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions.
European high school.
Okay.
Gymnast and is basically just our equivalent of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also Siggy, called quote unquote the troll, is here. Another example of like a little person with dwarfism shows up, sort of in a like a dreamlike interlude in between sections. continues a theme, I guess, at this point. I don't think an episode has gone by where we haven't talked about
Encountered.
someone having
Yeah.
dwarfism.
We get a cut to the German president saying "fuck it" on the floor of the Bundestag, and about how the left wants to nominate Rosa Luxemburg for president.
Yeah, so Rosa Luxemburg, let's see, when did she die? She died
1919.
1919. Yeah. Co-founder of the KPD that Lenny is a card-carrying member of.
Polish and naturalized German Marxist theorist and revolutionary.
Yeah,
So this is
Rosa,
right at the beginning of the Weimar Republic.
I guess so, yeah, because, well, she died 1919. Shout out Rosa Luxemburg. You should go read Rosa Luxemburg. She's great.
But didn't the Weimar
Peter-
Republic start in 1919?
Peter died. Well, she's like retroactively thinking in her dream utopia.
I
They
got
want to
you.
nominate Rosa Luxemburg
Okay.
because she
Once
was never.
again, filtered through a layer.
Yeah, she was never killed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, this is certainly before 1930 because that's when Peter is
Dies. Yeah.
beaten to death by a police officer. So somewhere in those 10 years. I liked this sentence. Incredible joy at the baths among the friends. True joy. Events in a dialectical process cannot bring this explosion of the heart. Everyone is in love. An army of lovers can be beaten. And then suddenly we're back in the main action of the dormitory. Quote, somewhere water is dripping, the street reaches in, making itself felt everywhere. Lenny knows it, hates it.
Yeah, I felt the return of the street from V in this section as well.
This whole section feels very V.
Very V. I was
sure.
writing notes in the margins all over the place, but yeah, I feel like we see some of these themes.
Perhaps
coming
not
back.
coincidentally, we meet a character from V in this section.
Uh-huh.
The overlap is strong. Andrew, do you have anything to say about Delta T approaching zero? And interpretations on what it means to move towards a limit? Or Dury, you studied math as well. I'll leave it to y'all.
I took calculus.
I know.
Once upon a time.
Between Franz and Lenny thinks of Delta T approaching zero, eternally approaching, as this pure light of zero that comes nearer. She's kind of the revolutionary that, like, the revolution is always just around the corner. We progress towards it. It's like, this is the thing that we're striving for, is for Delta T to equal zero. Whereas Franz takes a different approach.
Yeah, I think I read this section a couple of times because I did not follow Lenny's what Lenny was talking about, and I still don't think I fully do, because I feel like I'm on Franz's side here with that's not really how Delta T works. But I do like Lenny's spirit.
I mean, Franz may be mathematically correct, but I think this goes to the heart of maybe why they're a little bit incompatible. Franz, very pragmatic,
She loves astrology.
mathematic guy. She's like, but like the vibes of Delta T seem like you want it to get to zero. You need it to get to zero. Wouldn't it be kind of sexy if Delta T got to zero? We went beyond the zero, Franz. Can you imagine?
I mean, we've talked about zeros elsewhere as
Nora
well.
Nora Dodson Truck is obsessed with zeros.
Obsessed with zero. So that could be related. I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about ones and zeros and the space between 0 and 1.
I mean, there does seem to be a thing building where it's women who are associated and obsessed with zeros. You can probably take that in
I mean, I
some
guess there's like 2 of
Pynchon-esque
them.
directions, but Slothrop is also conditioned beyond the zero and has a particular relationship with women because of it.
Roger's in between 1 and 0, though. Right, like
It's true, yeah.
He's also the one in a relationship, unlike Pointsman.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, I'm not sure what to make of that yet, but
Maybe Roger is the change in T approaching 0.
is Jessica also 0? Nora's 0, Jessica's 0.
I don't know. I'm just saying words now.
Yeah. Let's move on. What happens next? This is, I didn't even really realize this, but Lenny kind of echoes what Pointsman was thinking about, what Pointsman was thinking of Spectro talking about in the earlier chapter, where she says, Franz says, there's no way for changes out there to produce changes in here. Again, like interface. Lenny says, not produce, she tried, not cause. It all goes along together. Parallel, not series. Metaphor, signs and symptoms. And signs and symptoms is precisely what Pointsman is musing on at the end of the first section that we read. Spectro's concept of the inside and the outside interfacing.
We get some films coming up next.
Yeah, Fran seems like a terrible person to watch a movie with.
Yeah, he just falls asleep.
He falls asleep. He's out of the job, which he blames on his Jewish boss, who was trying to develop patterned paint, which I thought was kind of fun. It reminds me of, nowadays I feel like we see those videos on like Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever, where you like dip the object into the paint pattern and then it comes out.
Yeah.
It eventually worked, just not yet. The world wasn't ready for it.
The two films that they go see, the first is Nibelungen, which is like a fantasy movie with some like state-of-the-art special effects.
Is it like a Wagner adaptation? Isn't Nibelungen Wagner related?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
It might be. I just didn't dig quite that deeply.
Weisenberger says Nibelungen is Fritz Lang, who Gerhard von Goerl is compared to.
Who's Gerhard von Goerl?
The director from The White Visitation. Says he's an equal of Lang. Oh, Nibelungen are
Like a mythological German race.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nibelungen
For this
Lied
particular
is
movie,
the Siegfried thing.
Yeah, the Nibelungen Lied. Yeah, that's the Wagner. The Ring of the Nibelung
okay,
is the opera that I was thinking of.
So is that related to this movie? Is the movie based off of it, or?
I think it's based off this. It's this at least the same.
The stories
like the
that
same,
Wagner
like,
was also,
myth that these
The
characters
Nibelungen
are.
Lied is a medieval poem written around 1200 that was adapted into the Wagner opera and then was also adapted into this silent film.
Gotcha.
It's like Siegfried is there, the German hero.
There's a
a dragon. The dwarves are there.
And then the next movie they go see is Die Frau im Mond, which is Woman in the Moon.
Okay, so they're seeing like special effects movies, sci-fi
Yeah.
stuff, fantasy.
Which is also Fritz Lang. They're both Fritz Lang movies.
Sure, okay.
This Die Frau im Mond movie. It is mentioned. I was previewing some of those V2 rocket documentaries for potential Patreon episodes, and they do get mentioned, this movie, as being very important to the sort of spacefaring zeitgeist that Germany goes into in the 20s and 30s.
That could be a fun watch.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Can we find this movie anywhere?
It's almost certainly public domain.
As long as it's not like a lost film.
Yeah, that's true.
It's on Shumo Free Play. On Tubi. It's on Tubi, guys.
Oh.
Well, if it's on Tubi, it's got to be good. Yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to this one in preparation for the show. I listened to like a podcast episode about the V2 rocket, and they had an interview with Werner von Braun, and
He was doing podcasts back then?
he was doing a radio interview at some point, which is just as wild. And he was talking in the like English language. I guess it was an American interview, where he was like, yeah, my interest in rockets really came to me as like a boy when I, wanted to go to space, and I was reading science fiction things about like Journey to Mars, and like that was really my interest in rockets. And I'm so glad to be here in America doing space rockets now, and not building the V2.
One of the, spoiler alert, I guess, to what we watch for the Patreon, one of those documentaries that I found looking up stuff was like made by like Boston PBS in like the 70s, and has a lot of interviews with a bunch of these ex-Nazi scientists. And it is, I mean, it's interesting to hear them talk about it, but it is absolutely a, like, they made us, the military came to us and said, if we want to test a rocket, we have to do one weapon launch for every research launch we did. And it's just the most revisionist history. But I do think it'd be interesting to listen to. And
for sure.
Tandem with something that is maybe less produced by the Nazis.
Produced by the Society for Space Navigation Boston edition. Boston chapter. So at some point, Franz is kind of wandering around, kind of Benny Profane like, kind of Oedipa Maas like, wandering around at night, going through all of the back neighborhoods. The quote, a neighborhood where glass breaks every night. Vacant lots. Until he sees what he initially doesn't recognize, but soon realizes is a static test for a little rocket.
I really liked Lenny's description of his nighttime wanderings, but I'm struggling to find my quote. Oh yeah. What kind of Vondervogel idiocy is it to what kind of Vondervogel idiocy is it to run around all night in a marsh calling yourself the Society for Space Navigation?
Yeah, so the Wandervogel have come up a couple of times in this book. I'll just read the Wikipedia entry here. Part of it literally is wandering birds, name adopted by a popular movement of German youth groups from 1896 to 1933 who protested against industrialization by going to hike in the country and commune with nature in the woods.
Am I wrong that word has been sort of like reappropriated?
Wanderlust.
In like Wanderlust. Maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Wanderlust.
In like travel influencer vibes.
Yeah. Wanderlust.
It led to also like there was a strong sense of German nationalism and, homelandness that you can imagine what directions that leads by the late 1920s and early 1930s. Although they protested industrialization at the same time, so what can you do? This is where our old buddy Kurt shows up. Hi, Kurt. He's here. Kurt. He runs over.
Old college chum of Franz. They catch up over some beers.
But who was one of Franz's professors way back when?
Yomf.
Professor Dr. Laszlo Yomf.
Whoa.
What's he doing over there? I can't wait to figure out what this guy's deal is. Professor Doctor, back in the Weimar Republic, comes to America at some point, visiting professor at Harvard or MIT, I guess.
Then
one of the two.
experiences on Tyrone.
Experiments on infant Tyrone. Invents Cryptosam.
So I guess he was experimenting on infant Tyrone around the time Mondagen graduated and then went to Southwest Africa on, quote, some kind of radio research project. And to the reader that wants to know more, once again, I would refer you back to V.
For the Jacobean etiology of Mondagen's trip to South Africa, which C?
I'm glad Mondagen had a fun postdoc. Or like maybe might even be like a post back. Very fun.
Yeah, what a wild post back. And they haven't seen each other since then, and they catch up over some beers, and I'm sure Mondagan regales him with some tales of Fopple's mansion.
Oh, yeah. This was Mondagan's story V1.
Oh my god, yeah. He told it to Franz first and then Stencil.
Which was the V2 version of the story.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm gonna have to think on that.
Lenny's not really having all this, though, and we get a lot of plays around Lenny's sort of revolutionary inklings. Franz in play often called her Lenin, and she's kind of obsessed over what she says, the same detestable Bürgerlichkeit, or like middle classness, as your father, sucking his pipe on Sunday strolls after church past the row houses by the river. He's just kind of like wants to be a little bit of a cog in the machine, is not excited for whatever is beyond the zero. There's a little bit of angel imagery here. France loved her neurotically, masochistically. He belonged to her and believed that she would carry him on her back away to a place where destiny couldn't reach. Sounds kind of like another guy who we're encountering in this story who puts all of his hopes on a woman he's obsessed with.
I think you skipped an important line there, Patrick.
What is it?
Away to a place where destiny couldn't reach, as if it were gravity.
Over gravity's rainbow. Somewhere.
And then, like, she describes him as a dead weight.
Yeah.
I don't know. She has a lot of thought about flight, like dreams of flight.
But that's what I mean with the angel imagery.
Yeah.
She's got flight.
There's a lot of visions of flight going on.
She's kind of the angel. At which point she decides to leave and head to Peter's at long last.
Where there's a séance going on.
Yeah, in the past, which is present.
In the present
which is
of the past. She makes action.
She
She finally
decides-
leaves the Studentenheim.
the dorm room. Yeah, I imagine her just kind of like doing the classic clap your hands on your thighs and go, well.
Yeah, she's kind of like, I'm hungry.
The baby's hungry.
The baby's hungry. I think we better just go to Peter. Like, stop hanging out in this sort of like leftist dormitory. This isn't for me.
Could not have more of a vibe shift than
No.
these two places.
Which I feel like also maybe captures some of Lenny's ongoing hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Anyway, she rolls up to Peter's
where a house party is in swing.
house party seance with the Nazis.
All
it's
the stars
it's giving
are here.
Fopple's mansion.
Mm.
It's giving, what was the thing in V with the
Black Mass.
mass, the black
Mhm.
mass, yes. It's giving Tupperware party.
IG Farben is here. I'm now starting to realize why Weisenberger went so hard on his description of the history of IG Farben in an early annotation, and I'm like, oh, they seem to be important.
They
to
come
the
up
story.
constantly.
You want to tell us a little bit about IG Farben?
Me
Yeah, you.
Or-
the one with the long description in the book.
or Stephen C. Weisenberger.
Together. Why don't you be the interface
Yeah.
through which Stephen speaks to us through the interface of the book?
Much like Carol Eventer, let us know what's going on the other side.
Yeah, okay. I have to go back to the previous IG Farben
Damn,
mention.
it's almost as though we are always communicating through layers of interfaces. Book
That's so
to person
true.
to audio
And our
/ Zoom screen, and then we're
listeners
interfacing
are
to you, the listener,
yeah.
through whatever podcast platform of choice you listen to. So distant.
Don't forget the internet protocol.
Whew.
Maybe via like a Bluetooth protocol too. A lot of layers.
When will I, like the skin cell, get to swim up to the surface?
Your eardrum is also like a cortex, an interface between inside and outside that vibrates in response to stimulus. Weisenberger says, I'll just skip around because it's truly like almost an entire page, more than a page. It was IG Farben was Germany's largest industrial cartel during the 30s, and with the Krupp firm, a linchpin of the German rearmament program. Beginning in the 19th century as a patentee of new coal tar dyes, IG Farben metastasized into a multinational cartel concerned with drugs, synthetic fibers and rubber, films and dyes, and a variety of industrial chemicals. And I must have skipped this sentence before. The firm plays a key role in GR from this moment on. And there's a couple of sources for Pynchon's sort of references here. Hermann Levy's Industrial Germany from 1935, Richard Saucely's IG Farben from 1947. One of these sources says that the core issue in the late 19th and early 20th century cartelization of the modern industry was, as Levy succinctly puts it, the problem of how to, quote, reconcile the new monopolist movement with the long-standing ideals on the side of a system of individualism and free competition.
It's a real-life Pierce in veracity.
They emerged into the Nazi ideology, stressing nostalgia for pre-modern Völkisch community. So this idea of the private industrial monopolies into the kind of folk cartel national industrialization, everything kind of, went hand in glove.
I think, how closely are we going to find out IG Farben is related to Yo-Yo Dine?
It's a good question. Well, Yo-Yo Dine hires all these people after the fact, after the war.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah,
Can you believe your statement that IG Farben was going to become a big player from here on forward in Gravity's Rainbow made me realize that we're not even a quarter of the way through this book.
No, we're not. Keep it locked. Stay tuned.
Woo!
Watch this space. So IG Farben is there. They're interested in resurrecting or communing with the ghost of Walter Rathenau, who, as I mentioned, was a real person. General Director Smaragd of the IG branch that was at one point interested in Franz is there. Smaragd is German for emerald. Don't know if that will become important. Weisenberger also points out that the group staffs at Chemical Instrumentality for the Abnormal, which is another acronym for CIA. We had the revolutionary CIA in Lot 49, and here we have a different CIA.
We have more of the elect and preterite showing up here, where only certain guests are allowed to go into Peter's sitting room, and the preterites stay outside gossiping. So elect and preterite, and also inside and outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the elect are the corporate Nazi crowd, for the most part.
Lenny.
And Lenny.
And Lenny, who puts her daughter to sleep in the other room and then goes to sit in on this séance.
Pynchon kind of glosses the contribution of Rathenau to the First World War effort by saying he saw the war in progress as a world revolution, out of which would rise neither red communism nor an unhindered right, but a rational structure in which business would be the true rightful authority, a structure based, not surprisingly, on the one he'd engineered in Germany for fighting the World War. This is the official version, but they're kind of interested, the Nazis here are interested in what's kind of the secret. What do they need to understand to cement this kind of industrial nationalist cartelization?
And there's also this observation that whatever he says, they're going to sort of twist into a blessing for what they do, which feels very apt of what sort of fascist governments in power want to do.
But when they reach him, when he picks up the other side of the phone, the first thing he talks about is mauve. Did y'all know anything about mauve before reading this section?
I did not. Just that it was a color.
Just that it was a color.
Oh, it's much more than a color. I'll read just a little bit here from Weisenberger. Here begins a dense, significant chain of references to the history of organic chemistry, specifically to the dye and pharmaceutical industries that burgeoned from it. The English chemist Sir William Henry Perkin, 1838 to 1907, was the discoverer of mauve dye, which he synthesized from coal tar in 1856. Prior to that, coal tar had been a waste byproduct of the steel industry. But Perkin, working with results formerly obtained by his teacher, August Wilhelm von Hofmann, produced the first synthetic dye and revolutionized the dyestuffs industry. Hofmann, in fact, had been quote-unquote imported to England from the University of Munich, where he'd studied under Justus von Liebig, the founder patriarch of organic chemistry. He was trying to achieve a synthesis of quinine from a coal tar derivative. It was messy, smelly, very sticky, and worse yet, failed. Yet in the process, he derived aniline purple as a precipitate and called the substance mauve, and registered it as British patent number 1984, which gave rise to the mauve decade of Victorian England, for Queen Victoria wore a mauve dress to an exhibition at the Crystal Palace in 1862, establishing the fashion trend of her reign. And then other dyes sort of follow suit.
I feel like that is a very Pynchon-esque fact that, like, Queen Victoria wore this dress of this dye that was made out of a waste product of industry.
And where did she wear it to?
Crystal Palace.
Which appears on the very first page, second paragraph of this book.
What?
He's afraid of the way the glass will fall. Soon it will be a spectacle, the fall of a crystal palace.
Whoa.
What is the Crystal Palace?
The Crystal Palace was
IRL.
like a big glass palace that was built, in Hyde Park, London, to house the Great Exhibition of 1851. It like shows up in a lot of like Victorian and like post-Victorian literature, but also in like, I feel like I've read several Russian novels that reference the Crystal Palace as like, you know, like a big monument to industrial possibility and futures. It was 3 times the size of St. Paul's Cathedral in London.
I feel like there's a building similar to this in Madrid.
Yeah, and then it was destroyed in a fire in 1936.
In fact, it's called the Palacio de Cristal
You're probably not the only Crystal Palace
in
they've ever
Madrid,
built.
which I have been to, which looks nearly exactly like this. Okay.
Flex on us that you guys were just in Spain twice in the same episode.
We did not go to Madrid. I had just been to this place a number of years ago, but I was like, wow, that sounds really familiar. A big glass building in a park.
New York apparently had a Crystal Palace in 1853.
Wow, they were all the rage.
Yeah, there was Crystal. Well, because it was like suddenly we
Glass.
have steel and glass in like large capacity.
Mhm.
Anyways, Ghostly Rathnow describes what seems like a lot of the big ideas of the book. This idea of that there is something down at the bottom of society, coal. He says the very substance of death, ancient, prehistoric, species we will never see again, growing older, blacker, deeper in layers of perpetual night. Earth's excrement purged out for the ennoblement of shining steel, passed over. We get more like Passover references. Out of that, we get mauve from this quote-unquote preterite dung. This is the sign of revealing, of unfolding, the meaning of mauve, the first new color on Earth. And he says, but this is all the impersonation of life. The real movement is not from death to any rebirth. It is from death to death transfigured.
Yeah, polymerization is not resurrection. I thought this segment was really interesting.
It's great.
Of this idea that like I'd like this bit about the interface between coal and steel is coal tar, and we turn the coal into this beautiful ennoblement of steel, but really the steel is just death transfigured.
It's not life. It
It's
looks
not
like
life.
life.
It looks pretty, it looks shiny, but it's not. And this idea that like I may be losing my analogy here because the interface is coal tar, but I was kind of thinking about this idea that like you put an interface on something and it makes it pretty and hides all of the ugly stuff underneath.
Well, I think it's the interface that is coal tar, because coal tar is the byproduct. What he's saying here is that like we have this process by which we turn something ugly into something pretty, but it's the stuff that emerges from that process that isn't the product, but is the byproduct. And he's like, that's the stuff you need to pay attention to. That's where the magic happens. It's not steel, it's mauve.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to tie back into some of our discussion of war. And like war is a transactional space.
But it's the byproducts of war that are the real market.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering.
We already talked about how no one here seems to be trying to win the war. What they're more concerned with is the byproducts that they can benefit from the continuation of the war.
Well, and I feel like Pynchon, like in these books, is very interested not in the battles that are taking place, or really who is winning and who is losing the war, but in the byproducts of like the people who, like the lives that are affected by it. Like what happens to Benny Profane when he comes home from war? What happens to the Nazi engineers that are sort of like spat out and sent to the US, and like what companies come of that, and like what happens what happens in the aftermath.
Like we've talked about how the V2 was not sort of the winning weapon that they maybe hoped it would be. And the way it was deployed, almost like the V2 attacks on London almost feel like they are the war, obviously, but like they're not like the Blitz was, where this was an attempt to win the war. This is sort of just a thing being thrown at England as Germany loses the war. And I feel like in that way it's more of a byproduct than sort of the like on the ground fighting that you'd be seeing at like the front between soldiers.
Yeah, and it's like it's the byproduct of the war, but then suddenly becomes the means for another future war. When you think about putting nuclear warheads on the equivalent of V2 rockets.
It's like the mauve thing. It's the rockets, the engineers, they're the byproduct of the war that gets passed over and then passed around between the powers that are fighting the war. I think I also think this sentence, the persistence then of structures favoring death converted into more death, protecting its reign. Seems he's specifically talking about the smokestacks, but I think the Crystal Palace in its own way is a structure favoring death.
Yeah, they talk about cities as like layers, which there's a lot of layering going on with the interfaces and the layers of the séance that are talked about in these sequences. But they talk about perfecting its reign just as the buried, or I guess death converted into more death, perfecting its reign just as the buried coal grows denser and overlaid with more strata, epoch on top of epoch, city on top of ruined city. This is the sign of death, the impersonator. Which, not to flex the Spanish trip again, but did make me think about like Barcelona is like built on top of the ruins of Rome. And I feel like that's true of a lot of European cities, is that like there's a city built on top of the ruins of another city. And you get these kind of layers of
strata
of civilization and death.
I'm also thinking that like there's a great line in another TV show that I only watched part of, but really liked the part that I watched, Halt and Catch Fire, starring Lee Pace, about the early days of the computer industry, like in Texas, I think. But there's a line that Lee Pace says that I think about all the time in relation to science and technology, where he has the realization, I think it's the computer is not the thing. It's the thing that gets us to the thing. And I think so much of like modern technology, especially digital technology, is built on this idea of like, this isn't the thing, it's the thing that gets us to the thing. And it's also to some extent what Rathnau is talking about here, which is that, you know, steel seems like the thing, but it's also the thing that gets us to the thing, which is mauve and coal tar and the byproduct. It's the things that are expelled from the process of trying to get to the thing that are where the real market is. And so he concludes by saying two questions. First, what is the real nature of synthesis? And then what is the real nature of control?
I can see why this mauve dress blew up.
It's a good dress.
It's just like, I feel like if you hadn't had a lot of purple in your life before, or your only purple had been kind of from indigo, maybe like a deep bluish
Imperial purple, speaking of ancient Rome.
Yeah, this is a very purpley purple.
Oh, yeah.
It would be an exciting new color.
Am I not mauve enough for the mauve
club?
This the final tag on this scene where the quote unquote Nazi wag and gadabout asks Rathnau, is God really Jewish? Amidst like the sort of snickering in the room, felt very much like a cinematic cut to me. Like I feel like you can feel the beat cutting to the next scene on precisely that moment.
And also like just this reminder that, I don't know, we get this kind of profound reflection on death and death transfigured and byproducts and industry. And then it, like, the people who are present at this seance are really just seeing this all as sort of a anti-Semitic joke that they're doing.
Uh-huh.
It's part of their decadence.
Yeah, it seems that Rathnau was caught up in one of the conspiracy theories that Pynchon references several times of like the protocols of the elders of Zion, the like anti-Semitic, like a circle of prominent Jewish figures are actually like ruling the world. He was condemned as part of that Jewish communist conspiracy before he was assassinated, of course. A lot going on in this section.
Yeah.
This is like the one section of the book that I had read before going into it, is like this, the Rathnau. I had no context for it, but I'd like read part of this because it came up in like some like eco-criticism, petro-humanities like research reading that I was doing, and this speech came up. So this was the one part of the book that was kind of familiar to me. I was like, oh yeah, the coal tar, right? Death transfigured.
Coal tar has also, at least to my understanding, continued to be used even more broadly in like female fashion and skin care. Like, I want to say, like, has mascara historically used coal tar?
There's a big long page or section on Wikipedia of cancer on the coal tar page, so I hope not too much.
I'd say
No, but
it's used in shampoos, lotions, and soaps.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like this idea of transforming like an industry byproduct into part of the fashion industry, maybe starting with mauve, but then continuing from there.
Mm-hmm.
It ties into like Oedipus, like the observation in Crying of Lot 49 that like the cigarettes are made from the bones of soldiers. And I feel like Pynchon is very concerned across a lot of his work with the idea that many of the ordinary things that we just consume as part of our kind of like capitalist lives are made out of the byproducts of maybe more insidious or industrial mechanisms.
Yeah. And it's also the kind of relationship between the masculine and the feminine again.
Stereotypically.
Yeah.
But we believe in female engineers.
We believe in female engineers, and men too can wear mauve,
Yes. Mauve is for everyone.
even if it maybe shouldn't be, I guess.
It's kind of a cool color.
Section 120, episode 120.
Let's go.
Does that feel good? Good for y'all? All right. Keeping it moving.
Boom.
It's all downhill from here, I think, in a way.
In a positive way.
Well, not for
not
some of
that
our
much,
characters.
but
At the annual Christmas party at the White Visitation, Pointsman and Maudie Chilkus play 7 Minutes in Heaven. Later, Pointsman goes on a walk with Gwynhydwy, who drunkenly suggests that the whole quote-unquote city paranoiac of London seems intentionally organized to keep the poor and the marginalized, the black folks and the brown folks, right under the bombs, shielding their actual targets. Then, a meditation on water bugs, that's New York English for cockroaches, in the manger in Bethlehem.
Patrick, you texted in our group chat that you teared up reading the last section.
I did. I got misty-eyed. It might have been the heavy pint that I grabbed after work when I was like, I'm going to go finish this section of Gravity's Rainbow, but I will admit, it wasn't so much this chapter.
Well, no, that's what,
although parts of it were.
when I was reading, I thought this was the last section, and I was like, what was he crying about?
why
I was
is
like,
he crying
I
about?
was like, none of that. I was like, what is going on? And then I flipped and I was like, oh, there's a couple more pages about Roger and Jessica, and it made a lot of sense. But I thought you were crying about this section, and the whole time I was reading it, I was like, I'm waiting for the sad part,
I will say though that I was brought into that emotionally vulnerable space. I do think that Gwynhydwy's monologue about sort of the past over the preterite, the non-elect, is like, I found it sort of deeply moving and also very sad, if not quite as romantically tragic. But I think it moves into the tenor for the next section in a real way. I have one last Weisenberger here,
about what
which is
the punchline to this joke is.
Yeah, it's about what the punchline to this
Thank
joke
God,
is.
thank God.
Does anybody want to make an attempt?
What did the Cockney exclaim to the cowboy from San Antonio? I got nothing.
What is he talking about in this? There's an italicized word here.
Out? What?
No, before that. I guess there's two italicized words.
Vortex.
Does it do anything for you?
Something about Tex. I mean, it's gotta be Tex. Let's call him Texan. What would core be in What in a Cockney accent gets you core?
Well, if you were extremely familiar with Cockney accents, there is the exclamation core, which, forgive me, our British listeners, but if you have your like classic Cockney, like, core blimey, you have your like variation of God blind me. So you get blimey, but also God becomes core, typically in like Cockney pronunciation. So you have core Tex.
It's a good one.
That was a fake.
Core Tex.
Well.
There's another punchline.
Hope he doesn't go into stand up.
There's another. He says it's bad. He says it's not a good joke.
He says it's out of the mainstream.
Well, close enough. There's another a explanation given in Weisenberger, but I'm less taken with it. It has to do with Cockney deriving from Middle English cockney or cock's egg, archaic slang for a male homosexual. I'm less taken with this explanation, but it relates back to Crutchfield and the Kenosha Kid business. But Cortex, I will stand by, is a good joke.
Some other thoughts on this sequence. I liked that they described Gwen Hidwey's cape as being hedgehog colored.
Yeah. Sorry, aren't you skipping over a little section there where like roughly 1 page of the text about a particular...
You talked about the 7 minutes in heaven.
Pointsman and Maud.
Maud, I don't know what Maud is doing with her life.
Is there not a certain Pynchonian tenderness to this interaction?
No.
That like two people amidst... It's a little Roger and Jessica coded.
Ew, no, don't do
Two
Roger and Jessica
people
like that.
amidst this terrible
Pointsman is
war.
a bad man.
Maybe Maud is a bad woman.
Roger and Jessica could
Yet
also
they
be
find
bad.
each other. Yeah, Roger and Jessica also work at the same place that Pointsman does. I'm just saying. I'm not saying this is like the height of romance, but I do think there is, there is something about intimacy being shared briefly and quietly between two people who kind of never speak of it again at the office, but share a certain something. Obviously, this is not me vouching for workplace romances or, you don't imitate fictional characters necessarily, but I don't think Pynchon intends this to be entirely, like, disgusting.
No.
I think it is part of, as you were saying earlier, like our growing... And maybe this is just going to turn on its head and Pointsman will soon return to being like the true monster of the book, but it is part of his increasing humanization, I think.
Yes, I do think Pynchon is doing something with making him seem more human. I was worried for Maud this whole time that based on some of his earlier statements, things were maybe going to go south for her. But happily, Pointsman didn't seem to want to torture Maud.
Yeah.
At the first time we see Pointsman, he has his foot in the toilet, right?
Yeah.
So we've really gone the full gambit of like Pointsman interactions. We've seen him at his best and his worst. And his sort of most successful and least successful.
Yeah. It's something about, and maybe it's just the language, but this quote, she'll come to his room off the lab once or twice perhaps, but somehow they're never to have this again. This sudden tropics in the held breath of war and English December, this moment of perfect peace. No one to tell.
It's sad that, I guess his professional breakthrough is going to be dissecting Tyrone. But from the human side, it's sad that he's like got no friends because all of his friends have been killed except Gwen Hidwey, and he can't talk to Maud, even though she does the finances, so she knows that he's got the money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But sad.
All right, so on to Thomas Gwen Hidwey, which I think I am pronouncing correctly. Welsh listeners, please write in. I tried Googling the proper Welsh pronunciations, and I think I'm close.
He seems to be just sort of drinking himself to death.
Yeah, I like that it's described that he's like a Shakespearean drunk, where he's just like jovial and kind of like a big guy with a bigger beard.
Yeah,
Fun drunk.
Described
Fun
as
drunk.
Santa Claus. Has a Santa Claus beard. He likes to walk around the countryside and sing. Sounds like a fun guy.
Yeah, I kind of want to hang out with him.
Words that have not yet been said about many people in this book.
That's true. I do think we need to put, and I think the Pynchon's liquor cabinet cocktail section does have this grain alcohol mixed in with beef tea, grenadine, cough syrup, bitter belch gathering infusions of blue scallop, valerian root, motherwort, and lady's slipper.
Oof.
This is very The Master.
This is super
And
the
Yeah.
whatever
Master.
that guy's name was.
Freddie
Quell,
Quell?
yeah.
Wow. Good pull.
Freddie Quell and Gwen Hidwey's wife are two peas in a pod.
I like that they described it as something that like tasted acrid, but then when you swallowed it a few minutes later, it would make your insides feel warm.
So he's a doctor over on the other side of the tracks, as it were, away from all of the upper echelons of the British war effort.
And has this vision that maybe even though the V2 rockets are falling in a Poisson distribution, that they seem to be falling primarily in the poorer areas of London. Perhaps because London has been arranged in such a way that it sets up the poorer areas to be expendable. Was kind of how I took this.
Yeah,
Mhm. No, I think that's right.
he's basically saying that the east side of London is downriver. It's where the like poor people in the sort of industrial area is.
Yeah, he says some cities are organized where like the rich are in the mountains and the poor are down below, and others are, arranged north or south. But he says that like London is kind of up and down river.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of an interesting portrayal of sort of structural inequity that like Roger Mexico talks about the Poisson distribution as being eminently fair because anyone is as likely to get hit as the next person.
Easy for you to say, Roger.
Yeah, but if the city is structured in such a way that the distribution is happening over the poorer areas of the city, even though anyone in those areas is equally likely to be struck, it's more likely that the preterite, as it will be struck, which I thought was an interesting recharacterization of chance.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly it doesn't feel eminently fair anymore.
I like that as he's speaking, there are increasing like hyphens between the words, as if he's like kind of getting drunker and like stumbling and emphasizing more points.
There was another character who did a lot of emphasizing earlier in the book.
Was Rosie, the Hungarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, who also kind of talks like Dracula. I this might also be an imitation of a Welsh accent. I don't think it is, because it only starts appearing after he's had a few drinks.
I really liked this segment about the bugs.
Yeah.
He describes we had this description in the last chapter of this sort of, was it Advent or Christmas?
Yeah, they were at an Advent service.
Yeah, Roger and Jessica were at an Advent service, and we kind of cut back to, this Christmas moment. I'm upholding that this is a Christmas book. A Christmas story. But instead of talking about like the baby Jesus and the manger or whatever, he talks about the straw at the bottom of the manger and the bugs that are in the straw and the perspective of the bugs in the straw. Kind of as like maybe the preterite, baby Jesus has come. He says, "Your savior, you see," but they're bugs. So what does it matter that the baby Jesus has come?
Or maybe it matters everything, even to the bugs. Just like it mattered to the dodos. Although I guess look what happened to them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just an interesting perspective here where describes sort of the perspective of a bug looking up through the golden lattice of straw that must have seemed to extend miles up and down an edible tenement world. Talks about the experience of like a neighbor bug tumbling down when the water bug eats the straw, a tranquil world, the temperature and humidity staying nearly steady, The day's cycle damped to only a soft, easy sway of light, gold to antique gold to shadows and back again. Anyways, I felt kind of transported into what it must be like to be a bug in a
Yeah.
pile of straw.
We have a bug section in V at some point. I feel like I vaguely remember us
I think
talking about bugs.
I think you're thinking of the movie Ants with Woody Allen.
True. This was, yeah, you're right. We talked about it 2 hours ago.
I don't remember bugs in V, but
I have to think about
could have
bugs.
forgotten.
Yeah. I gotta think about that. I'm not sure there were bugs. But I do like these bugs. I like also this intuition that Gwynhydwi says that babies born during this blitz are also following a poison distribution. They're like, you could just, even amidst this like apocalyptic, fearful death, there nonetheless is life, which feels like it goes hand in hand with this, that this is not just death transfigured, unless maybe it is also death transfigured if those babies are just going to die in the bombs, like you are building life only to see it die soon afterwards, which is maybe that's how Gwynhydwi means it, given that he's toasting to them.
Are we ready to go into the section that made you tear up?
Yeah, we'll see who's saved in the end. Final sequence of book 1. Penelope's Aunt Jessica and her uncle, in quotes, Roger, are over for Boxing Day. In keeping with English tradition, the family attended a pantomime of Hansel and Gretel. A rocket fell nearby, and Gretel led everybody into a grim, jubilant song. Now Penelope sees a ghost, or something like it, in her father's empty chair. Roger holds Jessica close and realizes she's drifting away.
Mm.
This section made a lot of sense for you to be sad during. I was very sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Why isn't Beaver at Jessica's family Boxing Day celebration? Do they all think it's totally normal that like they're calling him Uncle Roger?
I was thinking about this, and this goes back to the they've only hung out for hours thing.
Yeah.
They've hung out more than hours. Maybe it's a time flies when you're having fun situation.
I think so. I don't think you'd be Uncle Roger if you'd only hung out like a few times. Like clearly these kids have met him before.
I assumed that it was a situation where, like,
Yeah, I feel
maybe Beaver seems very busy, number one. It's entirely possible he has not been over to visit Jessica's sister.
Beaver has
And
a
I
real
think
job.
there
And is Jessica's sister just like chill with Jessica?
I think that Jessica's sister might have been like a little kid asks, "Who's that man with Aunt Jessica?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's Uncle Roger.
And Nancy's like, "That's Uncle Roger." And Roger's like, "Yeah.
Uncle Roger.
It's me, Uncle Rod." That seems like a Roger Mexico situation to be in.
That's fair.
That's what I assumed happened here, is like, this is, yeah,
How much?
I'll be Uncle Roger.
How much?
But Roger took the kids to see Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, it's not fun if Aunt Jess and Mr. Mexico took the kids to see Hansel and Gretel.
And then the kids, like, next time Beaver pops fire, the kid's going to be like, we saw Hansel and Gretel with Uncle Roger.
I mean, that would be the sitcom version of this for sure, is that,
And then Beaver's like, who's Uncle Roger? Yeah.
yeah. I didn't realize this until looking it up later, but yeah, it's a Boxing Day sort of thing to do in England, to go to a pantomime show, family entertainment. We don't really have Boxing Day in the United States, and we also, I don't really think, have pantomimes, but it sounds nice.
And in very Pynchon-esque fashion, we get sort of a show within a show. We get to watch a little bit of this theatrical performance. And of course, the Hansel and Gretel performance is calling back to our other Hansel and Gretel, more sadistic performance in the earlier chapter.
Katja and Gottfried.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What was up with this song?
This is a
The
great
song was the first thing that got me kind of misty-eyed.
I really liked this song. It's so much.
Tell me
it's
about
so
it, Andrew.
good. So they're at this pantomime, and the little girl who is playing Hansel gets up to sing her aria about being being Gretel. Sorry, she's playing Gretel. And then a V2 lands nearby.
No, she's Hansel.
She's
Or no.
Hansel. She should be Gretel, right?
Hansel, I think they're both women actresses.
Oh,
Hansel's supposed to be a boy, but was a tall girl in tights and a smock. But Gretel is the one who sings the song.
Okay. Well, she gets up to sing, and the V2 hits nearby, so there's an explosion. And she powers through and sings the song, and then everyone gets up and sings the second and third verse with her,
Including Roger.
which is great because this doesn't seem like a song that they would know ahead. Like this doesn't seem like a well-known song, but it's beautiful that they're singing it together.
How did she get the audience to sing this song with her that includes words like polythene?
They are moved,
I think
by the moment, Barry.
Are they
And the
given a
art.
hymnal?
They're feeling the spirit. I
You guys
would
don't
also
know
believe
the
this-
song that goes, "Oh, the Tommy is sleeping in the snowbank tonight, and the Jerrys are learning to fly." That's on the radio every day in 1944.
I would believe that this is kind of like a Twin Peaks, there it is, ring the bell situation here, where Audrey goes to the jukebox in the diner and just plays discordant jazz music as if it's like a top 40 hit. And it's like, oh, this is just what pop music sounds like in this universe. Like, yeah, everybody knows the one about the peppermint face in the sky. Of course.
The Sky Eye.
The Sky Eye. Which also felt very angelic to me. Like we learned about the eyes and the blazing face reaching up into the clouds earlier. Peppermint face. The angel, I wrote with an exclamation point. It then turns, I thought it turned really sad. The lines, oh, the palm trees whisper on the beach somewhere, and the lifesavers heaving a sigh, and the voices you hear, boy and girl of the year, are of children who are learning to die.
Oh, it got me way before that. Oh, your mother's a big fat machine gun, and your father's a dreary young man. Oh. Jessica's mother is the war, or Roger's mother is the war. Someone's mother is the war.
And the father's always a young man because he never grows old.
Just like Penelope's father, who we meet. Or don't meet.
Sort of meet.
In ghost form.
Yeah, that ghost, this is one of the creepiest ghosts in literature. I'm calling it right now. Something is stirring at first no more than refraction, as if there were a source of heat directly in front of the empty chair. Its arms and legs are silent and rigid. She stares into it. I only want to visit you.
Like this.
Sounds a lot like the death who wants to get tickled from earlier.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reflection on fathers being taken versus fathers leaving, and
Esoteric magic. Shells of the dead. Demonic possessions in this house are not unknown.
The sort of her staring at the shawl that's like draped over the chair sort of reminded me of the figure that's hiding behind the curtain at Darlene's house.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone seems very haunted by the dead.
Speaking of fathers staying young men, the line, perhaps it's even better to have this presence rubbing the room dry as glass, slipping in and out of an old chair, than a father who still hasn't died yet, a man you love and have to watch it happen to. Sometimes I think Pynchon just hits with like a really deeply sincere line that is like devoid of his usual kind of playful artifice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of them for me.
I feel like it's followed by a few others, with Roger's reflection on Jessica.
Yeah.
and love, and it is really heartbreaking. Like, he really is realizing sort of both how much she means to him and how likely she is to leave and go back to Beaver.
Yeah, it has begun to reveal itself how easily she might go.
He says if she leaves, then it ceases to matter how the rockets fall.
Damned Beaver / Jeremy is the war. He is every assertion the fucking war has ever made, that we are meant for work and government, for austerity, and these shall take priority over love, dreams, the spirit, the senses, and the other second-class trivia that are found among the idle and the mindless hours of the day. Damn them, they are wrong. They are insane.
We have a callback to the angel again. Jeremy / Beaver will take her like the angel itself, and Roger will be forgotten.
We're just reading this whole section of the book because it's so fucking good.
Yeah. An amusing maniac, but with no place in the rationalized power ritual that will be the coming peace.
Roger's sort of admitting, I guess, that if she gets killed by the V2 or she just leaves him to go to see Jeremy, it's the same. She's dead.
War's going to take
That's
her.
tough.
The V2 is the angel.
Yeah, I think in this case.
Well, they were angels before, too, because the radar techs call the rockets angels.
Yeah.
And then St. Blaise's Angel. God, St. Blaise's Angel is a great name for something.
Pynchon House spinoff, we do sort of like a shoegaze band called St. Blaise's Angel.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just reading too much into this, but he's describing how he feels about Jessica. And he says, she is his deepest innocence in spaces of bow and hay before wishes were given a separate name to warn that they might not come true. And his lithe Parisian daughter of joy beneath the eternal mirror, forswearing perfumes, capeskin to the armpits, all that is too easy for his impoverishment and more worthy love. The bit about the Parisian daughter of joy beneath the eternal mirror, did that call back a certain someone from V to anybody else?
Now
I think
it is.
it does, yeah. You reading that made that snap instantly.
Mm-hmm. I had not thought of that, but yeah.
Like the V in Love chapter.
And I'm here to say that Weisenberger does not say anything about that, but I think that is a pretty direct repetition of that image. For those of you who haven't read V,
Read V.
Go read V.
there's a young woman under a big mirror for a long time. There's actually several young women under big mirrors. It happens a lot in that book.
Who are objects of love.
Yeah, love,
Desire.
eros.
Yeah.
But this is an innocent
Yeah.
Parisian daughter under the mirror. Forswearing perfumes. I thought, obviously there's a lot of good stuff in you have the passage to my last shabby corner there among the debris you found life, but the image at the very end where she has this really loud kind of annoying sounding sneeze
Ip, 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 ip. Mm.
and then says, "Oh, super duper, I think I'm catching a cold." And it says the sound is as familiar to him as a bird song.
It's really sweet.
It's really sweet, but they've also only been together for a few hours at a time. So how many sneezes has he heard? And like already it's as familiar as a bird song. I feel like that's something you say about, your wife of 40 years or something. But I guess, things
Love,
move fast.
Love warps time.
To quote Metal Gear Solid, can love bloom on the battlefield? Gravity's Rainbow argues yes.
And also says that lovers can be beat in war, or whatever that line was.
Yeah. Okay, over under. Do we think Raj and Jess are making it out of this?
No.
At the end of book 1, place your bets.
Like out of the book?
out of the book? Do we think
No.
they're making it in
No.
is their relationship going to be?
Tragically, no.
No, you don't think so?
Or do we think they break up because one of them gets killed, or because Jess just goes back to Beaver?
I think one of them might get killed and Jess goes back to Beaver.
Damn, the worst of all worlds.
I think the worst possible outcome awaits us.
Do you
I
think Jess is going to like realize that she truly does love Roger?
Only when it's too late.
Only when it's too late.
Only when it's too late. Gotta be.
We'll
We'll
so many doomed loves.
I'm sure we'll find out in Book 2, Un Paramount Casino, Hermann Goering. What a rollicking adventure that sounds like it'll be.
Oh, we've got Hermann Goering. I just spent a lot of time with him in the Nuremberg Trials movie.
Nuremberg?
Yes.
Starring the Master's own Rami Malek?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was like the greatest movie, but it was interesting if you're... Definitely had some of the I maybe brought this up in a previous episode, the fascination with like psychology that is showing up in this book.
Okay. Final thoughts
that
here?
was a long one.
That was a long
folks.
one. I think I'll reveal to the listening public that I think we were trying to book it through book 1 because of some scheduling stuff, but I think we're going to slow down on book 2 as we go from here and maybe read like 30 pages an episode. It doesn't always need to be 40 plus. We can have a great conversation about 30. We can get under 3 hours for one of these episodes.
Turns
surely.
out this is a pretty dense book.
But thank you for going along with us. Do you all have any final thoughts wrapping up book 1? What it's about, what it all means?
I feel like we're about, based on the second title, that's the title of the second book, they're about to pivot possibly away from all the characters we've learned about. We've spent 12 hours of time talking about. Get him out of here. We're going to Hermann Goring's house.
Get in, loser. We're having in Paramount Casino Hermann Goering.
Yeah, maybe you two need to watch Nuremberg. It's pretty much exclusively focused on Hermann Goering.
But that would spoil what happens to Hermann Goering after the plot of this book, so I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah, I would hate for him to mention in that movie something that happens here before we read it.
Does this feel like, here's a question. Does this feel like an introduction to the book?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're just
No, I feel like I've read a whole book. And now we're moving on to read another book.
I mean, I still feel like it feels like an introduction. Like there's too many. But then I feel like I guess we'll see. It feels like an introduction. I guess it could just be that we get 600 more pages of this sort of, each section is about someone different, maybe that's just the pacing of the book is like this, but I don't know.
I just think it's interesting coming off of Lot 49, where Andrew, at least one of your thoughts was that it would be great if it were longer. And we have now read certainly more of this book than there was in the entirety of the Crying of Lot 49. And we're kind of catching up on V length before long here. So something to think about. I'm interested to see. I think the pacing of this book has been pretty good so far. We talked about that on the last episode. I'm interested to see how the pacing hangs over the course of the entire book.
Yeah, I am appreciating. I do feel like I keep getting, like, Pynchon keeps throwing me into a state of sort of disorientation and seasickness in my reading. And then, like, I'm able to, like, swim my way out and, like, find footing again in like one of the easier sections to read, and then he throws me off again.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that I am occasionally allowed to find footing, but I'll be intrigued in the coming sections, whether that's a continued rhythm that we have going on here.
Yeah.
I really clap myself on the back every time I finish reading a section. I'm like, you did it, champ. No, go get that next one.
Put a gold star on the front of the book.
Yeah, exactly.
Share your rituals with us, listener, if you have any. Or you're reading it again and you're like, wow, the second time everything just flows so swimmingly. We'd be curious to hear. Thank you for listening to Pynchon Pals, the whole of Book 1 of Gravity's Rainbow. And thank you to Andrew Tillett.
Thank you, everybody.
And to Dury Long.
Thank you
for joining me. If you like what we're doing here, we'd love it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts or on your podcatcher of choice. Just a couple days ago, we got a nice one from Blake Solotl? Blake Solotl. Oh, like an axolotl. Blake Solotl. It's a good name on Apple Podcasts, who says, thanks, pals, 5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyable niche goodie. A hug for the confused.
That's really my mission.
Or it says a hug for confused. So a hug for the confused. If you feel confused, we hope this podcast, I guess, is a hug for you, as Blake says. So if you want to leave a review, we might read it. I mean, we'll definitely read it. We might read it on air as well, because it is nice. Thank you. On our next episode, we'll be reading... Ooh, I haven't actually done this yet. We'll be reading what it says in the show notes our next sequences will be. They will probably be about 30 pages of Gravity's Rainbow Book 2. So look down there.
The first 30 pages, not some random 30 pages.
Probably about the first 30 pages. If you'd like to get in touch with the show or submit a question to be answered on air, and we've gotten a couple recently, so we're sort of stockpiling them, you can reach us at pynchonpals@gmail.com. And to support the work we do here, you can head to patreon.com/pynchonpals. Can we quickly pick that we're doing some V2 documentaries for our next bonus pod?
Yeah,
and we'll share exactly what they are later on.
Yeah, I think there's sort of two ways we can go with the V2 documentaries, but we can talk about that amongst ourselves.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off pod. You won't hear that discussion, but you will hear what the next one is when you hear it. So get ready. This is the worst outro I've ever done. I have no information to give anyone. However, one thing I am sure about is that our theme music is Horology by the inimitable King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, released under a Creative Commons Attribution No Derivatives license on the album Polygon Dwanaland. I'm also sure that Pynchon Pals is produced and edited by me, Patrick Fiorilli. You can find more of my work alongside my newsletter, Critical Theory Craft, at my website, www.patf.io. Until next time.
See you later, alligators.
I can't believe the Foo Fighters are named after Foo Fighters.
No, I assume. What else could they
It'd
be
be
named
wild
after?
if
What
they
other
weren't.
Foo Fighter is there?
Turns out, I guess, between Foo Fighters and St. Elmo's Fire, atmospheric phenomena just are really good for names for things.
True. There is no in popular culture section of the Foo Fighter Wikipedia page.
You heard of could have Scandinavian ghost rockets, Spökrakter in Swedish. Maybe that's how you pronounce that. Anyway, Scandinavian ghost rockets doesn't sound like a rock band of the Foo Fighters mold, but maybe more in a like college rock 90s indie vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Hi, Dury. Hello. What's your favorite atmospheric phenomenon? Oh, Scandinavian ghost rockets, Foo Fighters, St. Elmo's Fire.
I'm not sure if I know a lot of atmospheric phenomena.
I know a guy you could ask.
Hey, Andrew, what are some other atmospheric phenomena?
Oh, I
Maybe
meant-
I've heard of something.
I don't
I
think you
meant Kurt
me.
Mondoggin.
Oh, you make my talking.
I'm glad you thought he meant me. I was like, I don't know, like rain.
I don't know. You know a lot of things about the planet that I don't.
Ready to get back into it?
I like rain.
Yeah.
Lightning. Lightning's cool. Is that an atmospheric phenomena?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Sort of a
I
yeah.
like lightning.
sort of a phenomenon of the cortex between the atmosphere and the ground. It's like Kevin Eventer. Jesus.
Kevin Spectro.
Kevin
Carol
Spectro,
Eventer.
Carol Eventer. Definitely
Kevin McAllister?
definitely thought Carol Eventer was a woman until this most recent section.
I definitely did too. I'm glad I wasn't alone in that.
I've seen some people. This isn't the podcast. This is going at the end of the podcast. I've seen some people draw some comparisons to like Lewis Carroll. And there's some other like English author
Sure.
names, I think, that show up.
Did any of you look up who Jenny Greenteeth was?
Yes, but we shouldn't talk about it now. I haven't brought us into the podcast yet, but
Oh,
go ahead.
but
yes,
it was
no.
old news because
It's
it was in
old
the middle
news.
of the
Yeah,
last
go ahead.
chapter.
It's all post pod.
Yeah. Jenny Greenteeth.
I did look her up.
Was a river hag. She would pull children or the elderly into the water to drown them in English folklore.
It's hardcore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't want to mess with her.
They brought up Jenny Greenteeth, and I was like, is this a common like folklore villain or just a Pynchon sort of made up name? And it turns out it is a common folk villain, maybe a la Hansel and Gretel.
Not to be confused with Johnny Greenwood, the guitarist from Radiohead,
Really not.
who did the scores for There Will Be Blood and One Battle After Another.
Okay, Patrick, now you want to bring us into the pod?
I do.